Victor, Courtney, can you hear? Okay, good. All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is Chair Thigpen for the record. We will go ahead and do roll call.
Chair Thigpen,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Haddad Bennett,
Present.
Member Dr. Aldaba,
Present.
Member Dr. Holmes Sutton,
Okay.
Member Richards,
Present.
Member Cecile,
Present.
Member Shante Rosales, Member Stern,
Present.
Member Whitaker, Student Representative Ayala,
Present.
Thank you very much. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 2, public comment. So this is public comment for anything on the agenda today. If anyone has public comment for things not on the agenda, that will be at the end of our meeting today. Coming to Las Vegas, we have is it Tam Shear? I read it as Tom first, I apologize. You have 3 minutes. And make sure the mic is turned on and state your name for the record.
Hello, great. Hi, I'm Tam Shear, CEO of Opportunity 180, a nonprofit committed to increasing the number of high-quality seats in Nevada. Since 2020, we have served as Nevada's state entity for the Charter School Program Grant. In addition to our CSP work, we also provide philanthropic investments, support, and technical assistance to high-potential schools to pilot and articulate their plans to partner with our communities and meet the needs of the kids and families they serve. I'm here today to speak in support of Citizens of the World Charter School, or CWC's application to open in Nevada. Our team has been engaging with and supporting CWC in various ways for the last 4 years. Additionally, CWC has worked actively with our team as well as several community partners to learn more about Southern Nevada education landscape, student and family needs. We are also thrilled that Yamira Wheaton, who began her incubation year last month with our Propel Fellowship, moved to Las Vegas and is working with CWC this year to serve as their campus leader in Las Vegas. She is a former educator, principal, director of expansion, and an incredible asset to both CWC and our community. With her experience and great charter school operations like IDEA and leading schools, we are excited for the year ahead as well as the future with her. This school presents a tremendous opportunity for mobility, success, and innovation within our education system. We thank SPCSA staff and their review team for recognizing their potential and recommending them for review. We are proud to support CWC here today. Thank you for your consideration and your work in service of our families, schools, and community.
Thank you, Ms. Shear. Any other public comment here in Las Vegas? Seeing none, do we have any public comment online?
We do not.
And since we're connected to Reno for the first time, any public comment in Reno?
We do not have any public comment in Reno.
All right, thank you guys for holding down the fort down there. Okay, we will close out agenda item number 2 and move on to agenda item number 3, approval of consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to, Member Haddad Bennett, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a second? I'll take, don't all fight over it. I'll take Member Salcido's second because I heard him the clearest. Thank you all. All in those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving right along to agenda item number 4, the SPCSA Executive Director's Report. Over to you, Director McAdoo.
All right, thank you. Good morning. My update will be fairly brief this morning. On the school highlight, today I'm actually going to highlight an individual rather than a whole school. One of the things that I think quietly kind of goes on behind the scenes of a well-run school is their security and safety plan. It's something that doesn't get talked about or acknowledged and hopefully never even really has to be used, but it is a mission critical part of the work. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Tony York. Tony York recently received the 2025 National School Safety Lifetime Achievement Award at the National School Safety Conference. And Tony actually organizes, coordinates a quarterly training for all charter school leaders in Nevada, which has been really invaluable. And we thank him for his efforts on behalf of all schools, not just those he's employed by, and encourage any of our schools who aren't attending his trainings to go, because he's on top of what's happening currently, very up to date on what's happening in that space. So that is the shout out for today. I'm going to skip down. The delinquent PERS report is in there. You can see that situation continues to improve. I'm going to jump down and just briefly give you a new school update. I know last month we heard a potential amendment request in case Wiley's building didn't get done, so I just wanted to take the time to tell you they literally got their final sign off Sunday night before they started school on Monday. So they were able to start in their permanent location. Do and B Arts Academy also got open, and the school in Elko, the Nevada Classical Academy Elko, they'll be opening on the 25th. So in a few short days. So really happy for all of them. And then last but certainly not least, I am really excited. I'm going to give our new student representative, Odalis Ayala, a minute to just introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Odalis Ayala. I attend Equipo Academy as a senior, and something I do is I caddy with the program WGA Caddy Academy, and I've been doing it for 3 years, going on my 4th. Hopefully, and hopefully getting the Evans soon. Their scholarship they provide.
Yes, we are very glad she is here. Teresa and I gave her an onboarding training, and we're just absolutely thrilled to have her joining us this year. And wish her a fantastic senior year for sure. And that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
Thank you, Director McAdam, and welcome, Ms. Ayala. We're happy to have you here. Any questions from board colleagues in the boardroom? Online? I see you. Well, technically, you are in the boardroom in Reno, Mr. Salcido, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, Director McAdam, on the PERS delinquent stuff. I see for Equipo that last month it says not included in report. What is that?
Yeah, Melissa Mackin, for the record, I believe that means they paid it off. It you'll see last month they only had like 34,000 left. So I believe they paid it off, but I wasn't able to confirm that, so I didn't want to put that in writing in case that wasn't the case. But I will confirm it before our meeting next month to just ensure that's why they weren't included.
That would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Salcido. Any other questions from board colleagues? Okay. We will close out agenda item number 4. Thank you, Director McAdam. Moving right along to agenda item number 5, report on site evaluations. And there's a lot of names here. Who's up?
I'll start, Selçuk Özdemir, and
Thank
then
you,
my
Dr.
team
Özdemir.
also
Go
will
ahead.
join us. Good morning, Chair Thigpen and the members of the board. While my team is situated, my name is Selçuk Özdemir, Manager of Academic Performance at the State Public Charter School Authority. Today, we are here to present proposed revisions to our site evaluation process for the 2025-2026 school year, and also share some exciting news. This presentation will cover a draft list of schools scheduled for site evaluation for upcoming year, and a review of the procedural changes we are implementing. And I'm hoping Teresa can launch the presentation.
Yep, just give her 1 second. She's pulling it up.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Next slide, please. So before diving in, I want to share some exciting news. I am happy to report that this year we are merging our monitoring and evaluation efforts. In the past, risk-based monitoring and site evaluations were handled separately. Starting this year, SPCSA is integrating those two processes, simplifying oversight for schools and creating a more efficient and supportive system for everyone involved. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk about why we're going to do this and then how we're going to do that in the next couple slides. As a part of our commitment to effective oversight and support for our schools, last year, the site evaluation team conducted 63 site evaluations. The school support, finance, and operations team conducted 36 risk-based monitoring visits. While valuable, the 2 visits created some confusion for schools. Leaders often faced multiple visits from SPCSA teams, plus additional visits from other entities such as NDE, accreditation bodies, and the LCB. The result, schools spend time and energy managing oversight visits instead of focusing on students. School leaders themselves have asked to us, can these visits be combined? We listened and acted. Next slide, please. So merging monitoring and evaluation will streamline the process and reduce the duplicative visits. It will provide a holistic view of school performance, academic, operational, and financial together. And then it will deliver combined reports that are meaningful, transparent, and accessible to stakeholders on our website. It's also allow SPCSA to better support schools with precise and coordinated oversight. This merger is a major improvement for our agency and most importantly for our schools. The change involved extensive planning, numerous meetings, running various scenarios and revising process and procedures and identifying optimal actions. This took months of hard work across the multiple teams, school support, finance, operations, and evaluation. So this process will define, the new process will be defined and clear for every involved parties. And then definitely it will be streamline the process for visiting the day and then also the reporting. So I want to thank to Marina Cutler, the Director of School Support, Jennifer Villanova, Director of Finance and Operations, and Jessica Yamas for Risk-Based Monitoring Coordinator. And of course, special thanks to Director McAdam for her leadership. This has been a truly team effort, and I'm deeply appreciative for their collaboration. Next slide, please. So before I hand these things over to the final note, later in this presentation, we will share the draft site evaluation schedule. If there are schools as a board member you would like to visit, we would love for you to join us. You'll see that's the draft schedule for this upcoming school year. You can join us whether for a full day, a half day, or even a couple hours. We would love for you to go to that school with us. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Denise Shah to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Selçuk. Dr. Denise Shah for the record. Next slide. Oh, back, sorry. Teresa, there we go. Thank you. I would like to introduce our site evaluation team members, beginning with Dr. Selçuk Özdemir, who you just heard from, Karen Gordon, myself, Dr. Denise Shah, Gretchen Fahler, John Pelleton, and Dina Wilson. Next slide, please. The site evaluation team will explain the following in this presentation. We will briefly summarize the site evaluation process, explain the proposed revisions for this coming year, review the site evaluation schedule for the 25-26 school year, and have time for questions and responses at the conclusion of this presentation. Next slide, please. Our site evaluation process is a lengthy one. We begin our site evaluations from September and conclude them in April. We are mindful of the first month of schools due to the culture and systems building for students and staff. We also do not meet in the last month of school because of testing and end-of-year activities. We start in September 2025 with 55 schools scheduled through April for the 25-26 academic year. Possible dates discussed with schools are within the given month for the site evaluation. So before like October, we will have communication with all of the schools scheduled for October. We align with schools' calendars as well as the SPCSA calendar, including the charter application process. The SPCSA authorizing team sets the dates and communications with schools. This is based on multiple factors, including other schools' availability, the school breaks, vacations, and SPCSA staff availability within that given month. All visits scheduled in August for the first semester, and December for the second semester for the range of the school year. We ensure a plan for the year for both SPCSA schools and staff. Now I will turn the presentation over to my colleague, Ms. Gretchen Fahler, who will discuss further.
Gretchen Fahler for the record.
The site evaluation process. 2 times per year in August and December, the SPCSA provides notification of upcoming site evaluations to identified schools. 5 weeks prior to the evaluation, planning and informational meetings take place on the team and with school leaders. Then the site evaluation takes place. The team shares initial findings with the school leader verbally on that day. 4 to 6 weeks after the site evaluation, the SPCSA team compiles their findings and completes a draft of written report and sends it to the school leader. The school leader has up to 1 week to review it for inaccuracies and send it back to the team. SPCSA staff finalizes the report and submits to school leaders, the governing board, and the SPCSA Authority Board Chair. The final report is publicly posted on the SPCSA website. If the school was given a strong recommendation or a deficiency by the site evaluation team, they begin a process to support leaders in completing a detailed improvement plan. The following, next slide, please. The following are the 25-26 proposed revisions to the site evaluation process. Next slide, please. Summary of the changes. Proposed change 1, tailored site evaluation schedules based on each school's unique context. Proposed change 2, revise the strong recommendation and deficiency plan to be more detailed and useful to school leaders and boards. This plan will be more measurable with distinct timeframe goals. I'll now pass it on to my colleague, Karen Gordon.
Good morning. This is Karen Gordon for the record. On this slide, I'll talk about the first of 2 changes for the 25-26 school year. Since the SPCSA charter schools vary in size as well as number of grade levels, the site evaluation team will make changes to best meet the needs of each school. For example, a school campus with grades K-12 is much larger than another campus with grades K-5 or 6-8. In addition, SPCSA charter schools have a variety of NSPF star ratings, may be newly opened, or may have a new school leader. For this reason, our team will review each individual charter school before the evaluation and create a schedule uniquely tailored to a set of variables. This slide has a list of options we will consider. Some of them include how many evaluators we will send to the school, how many classrooms we'll observe, what is the NSPF star rating or star status of the school, is this charter new, existing, what is the academic, financial, organizational framework status, is the school self-managed or managed by an EMO or CMO, and is there a new leader? We also think about if the school has outstanding strong recommendations or deficiency plans. Next slide, please. Now I'll review the second of 2 changes. The second change is to tighten up the process we use when a school is issued a strong recommendation or deficiency. Our team has amended Appendix A of the Site Evaluation Handbook to include the following items as we track progress. We'll include measurable goals, clear timelines for action steps, more clearly designed team members at the school with defined methods for measuring progress. We hope the increased specificity will enable school leaders to track progress with more data-driven information than the previous version offered. Now I'll pass this on to John Piloton. Next slide, please.
Greetings, good morning, John Piloton for the record. As you see on the slide there, we start our first measure schedule in September with the newly transitioned schools from Clark County School District, along with Future Edge there on the first week of October. You can see a list of schools as we go down October and November, commencing in ending in December with the Coral Schools list of networks. As you can see, there's 2 asterisks marked for the schools that have targeted visits or evaluations, and the new one asterisk for the ones that are just transitioning. Next slide, please. From January to April, we continue with site evaluation process. In January, we probably visit 3 schools in their inaugural year, D-Bay, Wiley's, and Nevada Classical. As you can reference, February has 9 scheduled site visits, and in March, we'll be in the Doral campuses, concluding with a few more in April. Next slide, please. Before I transition to the slide again, as Dr. Osmer said, you're all welcome, members of the board, to join us on these site evaluations. It'd be an honor to have you there, even part the day. So the next slide, summary of changes, was reviewed earlier by my colleague, Gretchen Fahler and Karen Gordon. So we can look at it again. And as we transition to conclude our presentation, I'll turn it over to Dr. Osmer. Thank you.
Thank you, Selçuk Özdemir, for the record. Next slide, please. This basically conclude our presentation. We would like to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Özdemir, and to the entire site evaluation team for the comprehensive update. And we appreciate everything you do. And also thanks to our schools for giving this feedback that seems to have made quite an impact. So we appreciate you all. Just a reminder to my board colleagues, this is for information and discussion only, so nothing to really approve today on this, but I will open it up to questions here in the boardroom. Member Richards.
Member Richards for the record. Not a question, just once again want to thank you for the work, but also, I'm good. Okay. Also, on slide 10 and 11, I appreciate the fact that you really took into consideration scheduling with schools and times available. It's noticeable and definitely helpful for schools, so thank you.
Thank you, Member Richards. Any other comments or questions from board colleagues here in the boardroom? Go ahead.
Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, I just want to say thank you also. I don't have any questions. I know this was a question for me last meeting or maybe 2 meetings ago about how are we thinking about site evaluations and school support and sort of what does that nexus and that integration look like? And I think you guys have obviously done a ton of work. And I think it speaks to like a really sophisticated system where we're thinking about all of those pieces working together to support schools. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. Any questions or comments from board colleagues online or in Reno? All right, thank you all very much. One quick thing before we move on to agenda item number 6, I forgot to give notice to board colleagues, those online in here, that around noon-ish, we'll take our lunch break for about 20 minutes. I say noon-ish because if I see a clear break around 11:50 or maybe we're around 12:10, I'll take that as we can once we get into the new charter application. So just letting you all know, so if you have to, make lunch orders, things like that, then you can be ready. So apologies, I didn't mention that earlier. Moving right along, we'll open up agenda item number 6, and I think that goes over to you, Dr. Broughton.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you. I want to say good morning, Chair Thigpen, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, and members of the SPCSA board. For the record, my name is Katie Broughton. Whoops. And I serve as the Director of Authorizing for the Nevada State Public Charter School Authority. I'm here today to present proposed revisions to the SPCSA's financial performance framework, which, if adopted, would take effect beginning with fiscal year 2026. That's the fiscal year we're currently in. And apply thereafter. This presentation will outline the proposed revisions, and the draft technical guide has been provided as part of this agenda item for your review and consideration. NRS 388A.273 requires each charter school sponsor to adopt a performance framework and specifies certain elements that must be included. This statute clearly requires that the financial performance framework address both the financial condition and long-term sustainability of a charter school. In addition to the financial framework, the SPCSA also maintains organizational and academic frameworks. There are no proposed changes to those frameworks before the board today, and this morning I will focus exclusively on the proposed updates to the financial performance framework. Before we get into the specifics, I want to talk a little bit about the rationale behind the changes. We as the SPCSA staff conducted a thorough review of the current financial performance framework and found that it does not adequately reflect the financial practices of some of Nevada's charter schools. It does not align with the budgeting, accounting, and reporting requirements that are set by the Nevada Department of Education or state law. In our review, we also consulted with finance professionals from many of our charter schools and networks across the state. The proposed framework updates place greater emphasis on governmental fund financials rather than government-wide statements that include GASB adjustments such as PERS, capital leases, depreciation, and amortization. This approach on fund basis allows us to focus more directly on cash transactions and exclude non-cash items, which can often complicate the picture. We also made improvements in how results are reported, such as presenting ratios as percentages. Overall, we believe this framework to be simpler, clearer, and easier for all stakeholders to understand. Finally, the framework has been developed with consideration of some relevant provisions of the Nevada Administrative Code, which are noted on this slide and will be referenced again as applicable. The current framework, which was in effect for FY 2025, contains 13 measures, as seen on the left side of the screen. The proposed revised framework on the right contains 10 measures, so it's a net loss of 3. The proposed framework completely removes 4 measures from the previous version: total margin and the aggregated 3-year total margin, cash flow, chart of accounts, and grant subrecipient compliance. The chart of accounts requirements, however, have been incorporated into the financial reporting and compliance measure. One new measure has been added, the ending fund balance, and all other measures have been revised. Because this framework includes fewer measures, the notice threshold has been adjusted from 4 does not meet standard ratings to 3. In other words, a school receiving 3 does not meet standard ratings would be eligible for the issuance or escalation of a notice. The falls far below standard threshold remains unchanged. A single rating of falls far below standard continues to make a school eligible for a notice. Measure 1 has been revised from the current ratio to the unrestricted current ratio. This measure evaluates whether a school has sufficient unrestricted resources to cover its obligations over the next 12 months. We are also proposing to raise the does not meet standard threshold from 0.9 to 1.0. A ratio below 1.0 suggests that a school may not have enough unrestricted current assets to meet its current liabilities and could face challenges in meeting financial obligations over the year. These calculations are based on the balance sheet and statement of net position from the annual independent audit and exclude restricted amounts and long-term liabilities. To put it simply, a 0.9 current ratio would mean a school could have $90 in unrestricted current assets, but $100 in current liabilities, leaving them unable to pay all $100 of their liabilities. Measure 2 remains unrestricted days cash on hand, but there are several important updates. First, the calculation of average daily expenses will now use the subsequent year's budget expenditures. In practice, this means the measure will reflect how many days of the following year a school can cover with its available resources, as captured at the end of the fiscal year. In addition, SPCSA staff will include both cash equivalents and accounts receivable, as reported in the audit, to determine this figure. For schools in their first and second year of operation, this measure will result in an informational rating only, as it takes time to build toward the 60-day reserve requirement. That said, the authority retains the discretion to take formal action if the results indicate material financial risk or severe fiscal distress. Measure 3, ending fund balance, is a new measure that measures a school's ending fund balance in relation to its total fund expenditures. The ending fund balance will come directly from the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance and indicates financial resources in reserve at the end of the fiscal year. A healthy ending fund balance shows that the school is managing public funds prudently and operating within its means by planning ahead and avoiding overspending. The standard used in this framework mirrors requirements in NAC 345.650 that requires a local government to provide a written explanation to the Nevada Department of Education should their ending fund balance be less than 4% of actual expenditures. Additionally, this metric aligns with NAC 387.730, which prevents a governing body from approving a budget that plans to spend more money from any fund than the amount of money available in that fund. Finally, for schools in their first and second year of operation, this measure will result in an informational-only rating, as again, it takes time to build toward the 4% standard. That said, the authority retains the discretion to take formal action if the results indicate material financial risk or severe fiscal distress. Measure 4 is enrollment variance. This measure is mostly consistent with prior frameworks, but the proposed revision specifies that enrollment will be compared against the final budget as approved by June 8th, rather than any subsequent amended budgets. The final budget is the point at which schools plan for the year, hiring staff, purchasing materials, and committing resources. When schools are consistently overestimating enrollment in their final budget, they begin each year at a disadvantage. The enrollment variance calculation, therefore, compares projected enrollment in the final budget to actual enrollment, as it is this variance that creates financial stress, necessitates adjustments to planned expenditures, and may ultimately hinder a school's ability to deliver on its promised programming for students. Our goal is that schools adopt conservative budgets in June and then make changes should enrollment dictate it. Again, for schools in their first and second year of operation, this measure will result in an informational rating only. This will allow schools 2 years to determine historical enrollment growth trends and make better estimations to their enrollment each year to meet the 95% threshold. That said, the authority retains discretion to take formal action if the results indicate material financial risk or severe fiscal distress. The missed obligation measure builds on the current debt or lease default metric, but expands its scope to capture missed payments to any contracted services or state obligations, including PERS contributions. Additionally, the measure incorporates updated data sources such as PERS outstanding balance reports and other verified information to accurately reflect instances where a school has failed to meet its financial obligations. The debt to asset ratio remains largely unchanged, though it will now be reported as a percentage for increased clarity. In addition, the threshold for a does not meet standard rating has been increased from 100% to 110%. This adjustment addresses many concerns raised by schools regarding the impact of certain long-term debts, primarily leases and bonds used to acquire facilities. These debts have an impact on the ratio, particularly in the early years when interest payments exceed principal payments. Over time, as schools reduce these debts, the ratio is expected to decrease, providing a more accurate reflection of the school's financial health. The debt service to total revenue ratio is an updated version of the previous debt or lease service coverage ratio. This measure provides a straightforward way to assess the portion of a school's revenue dedicated to debt repayment, including the annual cost of a capital lease. By excluding non-cash expenses, the ratio offers a clear and meaningful view of financial obligations. It allows stakeholders to understand the percentage of revenue a school is allocating to interest and principal payments on its debt. There are 3 measures related to financial management and oversight: the annual financial audit, financial reporting and compliance, and financial oversight. These measures remain largely unchanged, though purpose statements and metric descriptions were cleaned up. Chart of accounts compliance was rolled into financial reporting, and grant subrecipient compliance was removed. That's the end of the overview of the proposed changes. Again, the draft technical guide is also included as part of this agenda item. If approved, this financial performance framework would be in effect for fiscal year 2026, which will be reported in the spring of 2027. Ratings for fiscal year 2025, which will be reported in early 2026, will be based upon the previous framework. I'm now available for questions, should anyone on the board have any.
Thank you very much, Dr. Broughton, and kudos to your team for all the work that has gone into this. We appreciate it. I will go ahead, sorry, Chair Thigpen, for the record, I will go ahead and open it up to questions from board colleagues in the boardroom. Looking around, okay. Vice Chair Haddad Bennett.
Thank you guys. Sorry, this is Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. I appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for all this work that you've done. I really love the consideration of first and second year schools, what should be informational only, giving them a chance to sort of like get these things shored up first. And so like, I think that's fantastic. I just have a couple of questions on some of the measures. I was looking at the previous guide and just sort of comparing and sort of looking at some of the proposed changes. And so I was wondering on measure 1 and I believe measure 2, I saw that there was a removing the trend analysis. So thinking about like if folks aren't meeting that bar, but they are trending in the right direction, if I'm understanding, and we're not taking that into consideration anymore. Could you tell us just a little bit about the thinking around that change?
Katie Broughton, Director of Authorizing, for the record. Yes. First of all, it was really hard to communicate what that meant, and to communicate, like, even though the school isn't meeting standard, in previous years, they have this trend. So it was not really a clear way to communicate how that was being met. And then it also is a way to just really say, like, especially for unrestricted current ratio, if a school is essentially, if their liabilities outweigh their unrestricted current assets, it doesn't, because it's like a 1 year, it's a 1 year look. It really is an issue in that annual year, even if in previous years it might not have been. So it was a way to really try to kind of simplify it, dial it back a bit. And then I would say the same for unrestricted cash. And then part of why the unrestricted cash ratio changed, kind of similar to what you said about year 1 and year 2 schools, we wanted to take out sort of the 15-day requirement in year 1, because then we're saying, like, this is acceptable. And we don't want to say this is what we want you to shoot for. And so it gives schools a way to kind of track towards 60 days, but not say, like, yeah, 15's okay. So it was a way to kind of thread that needle.
And Melissa Mackinnon, for the record, if I could just add one thing, we did take out that like kind of longitudinal, but we didn't because we're going to do this every year, right? So if they had improved and they were on a notice of concern, that notice of concern would be removed. So those past performances would be, or if it got worse, they might be elevated to a notice of breach. So those past numbers will still be taken into consideration through our intervention process, if that makes sense.
Just one other one, and it's on measure 5. Is it measure 5? Hang on. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. So this is maybe more of a curiosity, but so we're similarly, I think, moving away from some of the nuance, right, around like for this one in particular with the missed obligations. I think previously it was if they were defaulting or they were in sort of like a more critical need as opposed to, and I don't know how we're defining missed obligations in this, but so one, if you could talk to that a little bit on, again, moving away from the nuance. And then the other question that I have is when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing meets, and maybe it's like easier to pull up the slide for this one for measure 5. It's probably just a couple back from where you're at, that one. So this is just a framework question because I'm a nerd for these kinds of things. So I'm looking at meet standards, does not meet standards, and then falls far below. If this is now like a binary measure where it either you are or you aren't, which I get, why would we go to falls far below standard as opposed to meets or does not meet?
So what I will say, Katie Broughton, for the record, that actually did not change. So that was the way it was previously as well. This widens it mostly to capture the PERS issue, which we weren't really able to capture within the framework previously. Typically what we look for here is if the audit has identified that a school has missed a lease payment or missed a debt payment, which is obviously a pretty, for it to be reported in the audit is a pretty, means it's pretty significant. But this really was meant to sort of widen the scope so that any sort of contracted service or any state obligation that's missed could be captured here if it's validated.
That's helpful. I appreciate that. And I just want to be mindful that we're again, I like that we're taking into consideration the nuance of new schools and like giving them that opportunity, but also want to be mindful of like moving in a direction where we're going more towards the binary, either you made it or not, without taking into consideration like those strident efforts that are happening. So, but I really do appreciate all the work you guys are doing on this.
Thank you, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. Any other questions or comments from board colleagues here in the boardroom? Okay, seeing none. Any questions or comments from board colleagues online or in Reno? All right, seeing none, I know we do have a motion. It's now on the screen if someone's willing to do that. Don't all go at once.
Member Holmes-Hatton, I make the motion that we approve the revisions to the SPCSA financial performance framework as outlined in the documents attached to this agenda item, effective for fiscal year 2026 and beyond.
Thank you, Past Chair Holmes-Sutton. Do I have a second?
Board Member Antala, I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Dr. Broughton. Okay, that closes out agenda item number 6. We will now move on to the big one, agenda item number 7. And I think this goes to you, Director McAdoo.
Thank you. It goes to me for a very quick handoff to Dr. Broughton and Mr. Peltier. They're going to sort of tag team these, and we will just go in order. I'll just remind everyone that the process is going to be that school staff will give their presentation, providing their background that led to their my recommendation memo, and then the school may, if they desire, come up and have brief up to 3 minutes of comments, and then the duration of the time will be spent giving the board the opportunity to ask questions of staff in the school. So that will be the process that has been communicated out to schools. And with that, we're just going to go in order here, A through F. So
Director McAdoo, before we do that, I forgot one thing. If any board members do have any disclosures or conflicts of interest before any of these, now would be the time to do that. I'm not seeing any here, any online or in Reno. Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thought maybe there was something I didn't know. I was starting to panic a little bit. I was like, what's happening? Just keeping me on my toes, Chair Thigpen. Okay, we're going to go in order, A through F. So Citizens of the World, that team, I know I saw someone, yes, there they are. They can sort of move up to the table as staff is starting so that you're sort of in position when the time is right. And I will turn it over to Mr. Peltier.
Thank you, Director McAdoo. Thank you, members of the board. Danny Peltier for the record. Members of the authority, item 7A is the new charter application for Citizens of the World Charter School Las Vegas. As proposed, the school plans to open in Las Vegas within either the 89121 or 89122 zip codes with kindergarten through 2nd grade with 150 students, and eventually grow to kindergarten through 8th grade with 510 students. A complete enrollment chart can be found on page 2 of the memo before you. As the authority is aware, the SPCSA engages with districts and offered an opportunity to provide input on any applications proposed within their boundaries as a part of our review process. The input from Clark County District can be found as an exhibit alongside this item. I'll briefly summarize the key information CCSD provided. First, CCSD identified 9 one-star schools in the 89121 and 89122 zip codes, which are the zip codes citizens will primarily serve. CCSD also noted the zip codes of the intended service area encompass a geographic area with 5 middle schools with varying demographic profiles. Through the 2015 Capital Improvement Program, the Clark County School District invested within these zip codes to support the community's needs. 2 of the schools received a replacement facility in 2025. Those were Deering Elementary School and Woodbury Middle School. Finally, CCSD indicates that they believe this applicant aligns with 2 of the 3 portions of the academic and demographic needs assessment, specifically the demographic component and academic geographies. As the authority is also aware, the SPCSA values public input as part of this process. In addition to the community engagement expected of applicants as part of their application development, the SPCSA posts a public comment survey on our website. The authority did not receive any additional public comment through that survey regarding citizens. Overall, and after careful consideration, the review committee recommends that this application be approved with conditions, which I will detail shortly. Staff agrees with this recommendation and believe that the applicant has satisfied the requirements contained in NRS 388A.249. The review committee rated the 5 application sections as follows: meeting the need, meets the standard; academic, meets the standard; operation, meets the standard; financial, meets the standard; addendum, meets the standard. A complete list of ratings for each subsection of the application can be found on page 4 of the memo. I'm going to now provide a bit more detail regarding staff's recommendation and a breakdown of findings under each of the sections. Again, my comments will be a summary of the information contained in the memo. After my remarks, I'm happy to answer any questions about the highlighted findings or details of the recommendation that I did not address. I'm going to start with meeting the needs section, which was rated as meets the standard. Overall, meeting the needs section, there are 3 of the 3 subsections were rated as meets the standard. The applicant proposes a model which includes a mastery of rigorous academics, social emotional development, and learning across lines of difference. The 3 components of the learning model come together to support students' growth towards 11 graduate dispositions. The proposed mission of Citizens is to provide a socio-economically, culturally, and racially diverse community of students in Las Vegas with an intellectually challenging, experimental learning environment that develops each student's confidence, potential, and individual sense of responsibility in the world. The mission and vision subsection was rated as meets the standard. The proposal outlines clear and well-aligned mission and vision statements that support the school's educational model and broader goals. It targets the diverse communities in zip codes 89121 and 89122, providing detailed demographic data and presenting an educational model that adheres to the Common Core standards and Nevada charter school requirements. The targeted plan subsection was rated as meets the standard. The proposed school aims to serve communities with historically underperforming schools by offering a rigorous, conceptually focused academic program designed to foster student growth and achievement, emphasizing equity. The school's plans to provide targeted support for underserved populations, including low-income students, English language learners, and students with disabilities. The parent and community involvement subsection was rated as meets the standard. Although the proposal lacks some detailed outreach plans for engaging families in the target area, the applicant has actively connected with community organizations and conducted visits to local schools to better understand the educational landscape. During the capacity interview, the applicant shared plans to hire a recruitment and family engagement manager to lead outreach efforts and build a strong school community partnerships. Ongoing community engagement will remain a central focus throughout the extended incubation period. In both the written application and during the capacity interview, the community forum was able to, the CMO and the community forum was able to demonstrate a thorough understanding of the city, community, and students to be served, including relevant demographic information and the educational needs of students within those demographics. Moving to the academic section, this section was rated as meets the standard. 8 of the 9 subsections within the academic plan were rated as meets the standard, with one subsection rated as approaches the standard. The transformational change subsection was rated as meets the standard. The Citizens Academic Plan outlines a strong theory of change centered on self-awareness, collaboration, cultural competency, systems thinking, and global advocacy aligning with the school's mission. The proposal features a well-developed instructional approach and sets rigorous, attainable goals to ensure students meet or exceed state standards in core subjects. The curriculum and instructional design subsection was rated as meets the standard. The proposal outlines curriculum materials for all core subjects aligned with Nevada academic content standards and incorporates evidence-based practices like project-based and inquiry-based learning. It also includes instructional strategies such as backward design and differentiation to support diverse learners, including English language learners and students from low-income backgrounds. The promotion and graduation requirement subsection was rated as meets the standard. The application outlines a comprehensive plan to support students at risk of academic failure through a multi-tiered system of supports. It includes targeted individualized interventions and utilizes iReady as the primary diagnostic tool to assess student performance and guide instruction in English language arts and mathematics. The driving for results subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The application outlines measurable mission-aligned goals that focus on academic growth and social emotional development, along with school-wide performance targets across core subjects. However, it did lack clear expectations and evaluation methods for some student subgroups, particularly some English language learners and students with disabilities. The plan includes interim assessments like DIBELS, a process for identifying students needing support, tiered interventions, and a strong grasp of organizational and financial accountability under the SPCSA framework. The at-risk students and special population subsection was rated as meets the standard. The application defines at-risk students as those needing extra support for academic and social and emotional success and outlines a comprehensive plan to identify their needs using both academic and behavioral data. Assessments including iReady, curriculum-based measures, WIDA scores, unit tests, attendance, discipline records, and social and emotional indicators. An MTSS with an RTI framework will be managed by a dedicated student success team, which will regularly review data and coordinate targeted interventions for identified students. The professional development subsection was rated as meets the standard. The application presents a strong and comprehensive professional development plan with a clear focus on supporting diverse learners through ongoing embedded training. Strengths include a well-structured induction period, a dedicated professional development day each day of the week or each week, collaborative curriculum planning during a 15-day summer institute, and consistent support through lesson reviews, classroom observations, and tailored trainings that evolves with staff needs. The school culture, discipline, and calendar sections were all rated as meets the standard. The proposal presents a clear and comprehensive vision for cultivating a positive school culture with strong emphasis on community building, student engagement, and staff support. A major strength is the integration of social and emotional learning into daily routines, supported by programs like responsive classroom and proactive tiered behavioral interventions such as restorative justice circles and goal-setting tools. The discipline plan aligns with the school's mission, emphasizing behavioral growth through learning opportunities rather than punishment, and includes procedures for monitoring and reporting disaggregated discipline data. The 4-day school week is strategically designed to support both student well-being and staff development with aligned schedules and time dedicated to professional planning and aligns with the school calendar requirements set forth in statute. Now moving on to the operations section, this section was rated overall as meets the standard. 5 of the 8 subsections were rated as meets the standard. The other 3 sections were rated as approaches the standard. The board governance subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The application outlines that the local board will govern the school and oversee relationships with the charter management organization, Citizens of the World, with 3 board members identified and plans to expand the board by September 30th, 2025. While the board's general responsibilities are defined, the proposal lacks clarity around the evaluation of the CMO and the specific roles and reporting structures among the CMO, its board, school leadership, and the local board, which will need to be further developed during the incubation period. The leadership team subsection was rated as meets the standard. The application is supported by a team with strong experience working with diverse and at-risk student populations, along with charter management organizations skilled in a staff recruitment and development. Despite the late identification of a school leader, the proposal outlines a clear organizational plan, leadership development strategy, and regular evaluations using the NEPF administrator framework, aiming for high performance across all standards. The staffing plan and human resources subsections were rated as meets the standard. The proposed staffing plan aligns with the school's mission, vision, and constructivist project-based academic model, supporting diverse learners, including English learners and students with disabilities. It outlines adequate capacity for instructional quality, school operations, and compliance through staffing allocations for special populations. Those staffing allocations for special populations could be more fully developed. Strengths include clearly defined recruitment strategies, strong teacher retention incentives such as the 4-day school week, smaller class sizes, and authentic professional development. However, with the anticipated reductions in staff salaries due to PERS contributions, the school will need to explore ways to maintain competitive compensation to attract and retain high-quality educators. The student recruitment and enrollment subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The proposed school has a clear growth plan, starting with 150 students in K2 and expanding to 510 students in K7, with plans to add 8th grade in the second at the beginning of the second charter term if approved. Strengths include recruitment strategies that have been effective in other network schools and a multi-channel marketing campaign with ongoing review. However, the proposal did lack specificity in how it will reach high-need students and shows limited understanding of the local community at this point in time, and did not clearly distinguish between the application, enrollment, and admissions, or provide a timeline for recruitment goals, areas that will need to be further developed during the extended incubation period. The incubation year development section was also rated as approaches the standard. The applicant has proposed a 2-year incubation plan that includes a year-long leadership training program, which is a strong component for building school leadership capacity. However, key details about how this extended incubation plan will impact finances, recruitment, and operations do remain unclear, making it essential for the board and the school to sustain momentum and address any of these gaps during that 2-year incubation period. The services and facilities subsections were rated as meets the standard. The applicant presents a strong plan for essential operational services, including food services, facility maintenance, school health and nursing, and has thoughtfully addressed student access despite not offering transportation. A detailed technology infrastructure plan, including the use of Infinite Campus, further supports the school's readiness. The engagement of the HILTS groups to secure a facility by the 27-28 school year and the CMO's proven experience in facility acquisition add credibility to the proposal. While specific facility requirements were not fully detailed, a high-level contingency plan was shared, showing proactive planning and risk management. The financial plan was rated as meets the standard. The financial plan demonstrates strong planning and fiscal responsibility. The applicant plans to partner with Charter Impact for a full range of financial services and has outlined a clear competitive process for selecting vendors through a request for proposal. Strengths include a detailed budgeting process that prioritizes alignment with the educational program, contingency planning for narrow margins, and the strategic use of potential CSP grant funds to support early operations. The plan also emphasizes building a fund balance reserve and designing cost-effective operations to ensure long-term financial sustainability. Excuse me. The addendum section was rated as meets the standard. 3 of the 5 subsections were rated as meets the standard. The other 2 subsections were rated as approaches the standard. The past performance subsection was rated as meets the standard. The CMO demonstrated strong student growth on California assessment of student performance and progress, with both CWC supported schools achieving levels 3 and 4 in ELA and math, outperforming local district benchmarks. Additionally, Citizens of the World Kansas City showed exceptional results, ranking 12th in the state for math growth and 5th for ELA growth across subgroups, according to Missouri's growth measure system. The scale strategy subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant noted that the proposed charter management organization has experience opening multiple schools and currently has no other applications in progress. However, the review team seeks further clarification on the CMO's specific role during the school's launch and its level of ongoing support, as well as a clearer delineation of responsibilities between the CMO and the school board post-launch. The network capacity subsection was rated as meets the standard. The proposal highlights that the applicant has a well-staffed central office and uses clear green lighting criteria to ensure new school launches are only pursued when there is a sufficient capacity for long-term success. Citizens of the World Charter Schools is described as a capable management organization offering expert support in staffing, operations, facility acquisition, and recruitment with a detailed plan for assisting the new school throughout its launch. The school management contract subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant outlined the relationship between the board, executive director, and school principal, but as noted earlier, key concerns remain about the decision-making authority during the school's early years, particularly the transition of the control from the CMO to the school leadership. The proposed licensing agreement could help clarify governance roles and strengthen accountability. Further alignment between the school board and the CMO on governance responsibilities is needed to establish a balanced and effective leadership structure. The charter management organizations applying for scholarship directly subsection was rated as meets the standard. The application clearly and logically explains how the CMO plans to transition the governance to the board. Those specific roles will need further definition. The proposed board model does plan to balance fidelity to the school's mission and provide appropriate input and oversight from the proposed community the school plans to serve. So to summarize and underscore the reasons I have outlined this morning, staff is recommending that the authority approve this applicant with several conditions that align to the areas of concern I've noted. The proposed conditions are, by November 1st, 2025, establish a board in full compliance with requirements of NRS 388A.320. Furthermore, ensure that the board convenes quarterly meetings during the extended incubation period in accordance with mandates of NRS 388A.320. By January 1st, 2026, provide evidence that a school leader has been hired. By January 1st, 2026, provide evidence that the board has approved a CMO contract that outlines the specific roles and responsibilities of all parties during the incubation period and through the original terms of the contract. This contract must be in compliance with all relevant Nevada laws and regulations. Upon approval of any additional grants or the receipt of any additional funding sources, provide an updated budget through FY 2033 to SPCSA staff. By June 1st, 2027, submit a fully executed lease for a facility that will meet the needs of the school for 27-28 school year to serve the 89121 and 89122 zip codes. At the conclusion of the new school enrollment audit in June 2027, provide evidence that Citizens of the World Charter School Las Vegas has hit at least 135 students enrolled for the 27-28 school year. By June 8th, 2027, submit a board-approved final budget that includes revenue based on the fully enrolled student count at the time of board approval and accurately incorporates expenses for the identified facility. Final condition, complete the SPCSA pre-opening process for new charter schools. Should the board wish to approve this application, a proposed motion can be found on pages 3 and 4 of your memo. I'm happy to take any questions, and as Executive Director McAdin said before, I believe school representatives are at the table right now, so thank you for listening to all that.
Thank you, Danny. Chair Thigpen for the record. Director McAdin, do we now want to move on to let the school have comments and then we'll go into questions? Okay. All right. Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes for any comments you want to make. And be sure to make sure the mics are on. The green light will light up, and state your name for the record.
My name is Laura Furlong, and I want to thank you for the time today. And we want to extend our gratitude to the SPCSA team, the reviewers, and the board today for your commitment to a stringent and clear process that ensures high-quality charter schools in Nevada. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Executive Officer of Citizens of the World Charter Schools, or CWC. CWC is a network of public charter schools that seek to reflect the diversity of the communities around our schools in our student body and in our educators. Our schools are built around 3 pillars for our students: rigorous academics, social and emotional development, and learning across lines of difference. These 3 pillars work in coordination towards our ultimate outcomes for our students, our graduate dispositions, and these align deeply with the Nevada Portrait of a Learner. We support schools in Los Angeles, California, and Kansas City, Missouri, and are excited to propose a new K-8 school to open in Clark County in the fall of 2027. CWC is committed to ensuring not just a strong start, but a sustainable school, and we believe that begins with the leader of the school. We're excited to be joined here today by our founding executive director of CWC Las Vegas, who will now share a bit about herself and her plans for Clark County.
Hi, for the record, my name is Jamara Wheaton. I'm excited to be here. So I came to the United States as an immigrant with learning gaps and significant issues with language. So I had a language barrier, and I was fortunate enough to be guided by Ms. Ross. She was my mentor, my teacher. She was my champion, and she taught me new language, a new culture, and ultimately a new me. I was able to become a teacher because I was inspired by her, and I was able to later on become a leader. Most notably, I spent 2 years at IDEA Public Schools, which was one of the highest performing charter schools in the nation. I was able to co-lead 2 of their campuses from a C rating to an A rating with all available state distinctions. This work required not only improving instructional quality and data-driven teaching, but also building systems of accountability and coaching teachers to become champions for their students. After IDEA, I worked at Reach in Buffalo, so helping to lead the expansion projects and also to strengthen their academic model. And today I am proud to serve as founding executive director for Citizens of the World in Las Vegas through the Propel Expansion Fellowship with Opportunity 180. I want every child in Las Vegas to have a champion teacher just like I did and have access to a high-performing charter school. I'm also joined today by 2 of the committee to be formed, just Dr. Brandon Wiley, who's virtual, and Dr. Cameron Coleman, who's joining us back here. They, along with Scott Summer, has been an incredible champion and thought partners as we work through the application process. And we are in the process of recruiting more board members, so we're able to see a full board and be in full compliance with Nevada guidelines by the November 1 deadline. Back to you, Laura.
We started engaging with the Clark County community almost 5 years ago. We started to envision what it might look like to one day open up a CWC school here. And we've spent time engaging with educators, with community members and leaders, and we're committed to building a school that meets the needs of the community. So we thank you, members of the board, for considering our charter application.
Thank you very much for being here. Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for any questions either for staff or for the school leaders that are here. Any questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett.
First, that was exactly 3 minutes to the second. Incredibly impressive. I was shocked. So good job. So my question is around your recruitment and engagement in the community. Walk us through a little bit. I mean, obviously we heard some concerns, right? And just some need for clarification, but if you could just tell us about what does your plan look like to ensure that you have, a full enrollment sheet when you guys are ready to open.
Thank you. So we're actively building systems and structures to drive interest and full enrollment in identifying zip codes. Already over 40 families have completed the intent to enroll forms, and that number just continues to grow. I personally have conducted door-to-door. I've been in tabling in the community, sort of getting to know the community, getting their input. And it has been really, really eye-opening on how it all sort of works. We're also ramping up our social media presence, which will begin rolling out shortly in the coming weeks. We'll also participate in community events to increase brand awareness, also to connect with families and where they live and gather. We'll also be using Brightwheel as a point of contact with them, so that way we'll reduce attrition throughout the enrollment period. We also have a 2-year incubation period, which the first year is going to be about trusting, building trust in the community, but also building relationships and laying the foundation with community partners, and also to raise awareness around our school. So we'll establish a robust recruitment strategy for each of the 2 years, and we'll ensure that seamless enrollment process will take place for the year 26 and 27. We'll be using different methods of completing this thing. I've done this work before, so I'm confident that we can get those numbers up.
Thank you, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. Any other questions or anything from members of the boardroom? Seeing none, I will open it up to Board members online or in Reno? I saw member Salcido. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is for staff. Can you remind me when we approve a school like this with those conditions, like the ones that Danny outlined, if they don't meet those conditions, do we have to go back and remove the approval, or is it automatic, or can you walk us through that process?
Melissa Mackinnon for the record. So actually, we don't have to come back to the board. There's a provision in Nevada where the executive director can just, take action if they don't meet those provisions.
Perfect, thank you.
And I'll go to member Stern next.
Member Stern for the record. So I do have some questions. And I do want to start with, in the application, a lot was made about the CWC's learning model requiring high quality teaching and expert teachers. And I think it would help ground some of my other questions that I have at the moment if you could explain what you mean by expert teachers. I think this was slightly touched on in the capacity interview, but I'm still finding myself with some questions about how the CWC model is defining expert teachers for the purposes of the needs of your campus.
I can start if that's helpful. Laura Furlong for the record. So when we think about expert teachers, we don't think about that in terms of years of experience. We think about how they approach the work, how they engage with students, being open to supporting a project-based learning environment. Sometimes it's about how quickly they are able to respond to feedback. We have a pretty stringent coaching process that we put into place. And so ensuring that our teaching staff, and we build this in the recruitment and selection process, that they're responsive to feedback through that selection process, which then gives us a sense as to how quickly we'll be able to support them to become expert teachers. We know we are not going to start out in day one of year one with a group of educators who have decades of experience. Our expectation is that expert teachers are individuals who come in ready to learn and continue to grow.
Member Stone for the record. I appreciate that clarification. I guess I still, and just to indicate where this is going, have some concerns around your budget for staffing with your ability to be competitive in recruiting these expert teachers or those who have the capacity to be expert teachers, noting that the starting salary, keeping in mind your double incubation, is lower than we're seeing on the other applications, significantly lower than what we're seeing in district. So can you speak to how you expect to recruit and retain staff with arguably budgeting for staffing that doesn't appear to be competitive?
So when we went through the budgeting process, we started first by looking at prior applications and just trying to understand what has been done in the past from a budget perspective and what has been effective for successful charter schools who have launched already. So that was our starting place. And we also recognize that 2 years from now, staffing and salaries may be completely different. And so that is one of the benefits of being 2 years out, is that we have the ability to adjust based on what we're seeing and to consider what other benefits that are not as tangible as compensation might be helpful. We actually think that that 4-day school week, as we've observed in a number of schools here in Clark County, can be a really powerful incentive for staff. Really rich, meaningful professional development is not always present in all of our schools. I'm not saying CWC schools, but in schools in general. And so at least we have found at CWC that our educators lean into places where there is meaningful professional development and see that as a powerful component of a strong school culture. And so our emphasis, in addition to kind of ensuring that we are staying abreast of all of the adjustments that happen over the next 2 years and trying to shift our budget to accommodate that, is also just going to be to build a strong culture that folks want to come and stay at.
Member Stern, for the record again, I appreciate that clarification on your thinking. So with that in mind then, do you believe that your budget would be able to be flexible enough to account for that increase without sacrificing the other elements of your very robust plan for the academics and facilities and other things that you're looking to provide?
Yeah, I will name, there are a lot of intangibles 2 years out, facilities being.
Make sure to say your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, Laura Furlong, for the record. There are a lot of intangibles at this point, and so we're trying to make sure that we have a budget that can be flexible. One of the things that budget does not include is CSP dollars, which we intend to apply for the CSP grant. And so the hope is that that will give us a bit more flexibility, and we don't want to rely on just that. So there will be robust fundraising that occurs. However, for us, the priority is going to be ensuring that we are producing a high quality learning environment for students, and that takes precedence. And so that is how we center our conversations around budget.
Member Stern, for the record, again, thank you for indulging all of my questions. I'm just looking for some clarification around all of this. And I know that it was part of the conditions and that it was raised in the interview, but I do share the concerns that were expressed about the relationship between the CMO, between you and the board that's looking to form, and the shared responsibilities. And I know that still has to be sorted out, but if you could shed any light on sort of how you are anticipating the role of the board specifically for the school and envisioning that as school leadership in your relationship with them, I would appreciate some of that clarification, keeping in mind, of course, that that is still something that needs to be developed, but I do want to understand what the intention is there.
Laura Furlong, for the record. We are cognizant of the January 1 deadline, the conditional deadline, and so are working towards that. And we believe that the contract will actually help to articulate a lot of the roles and responsibilities, both in the incubation period as well as beyond, through the terms of the contract. What we always base ourselves in or ground ourselves in is a belief that we need local, strong accountability of each school. And so that is kind of at the foundation of where we start. I am not based in Las Vegas. I'm not based in Clark County. And so it does not make sense for my team to be making decisions on behalf of a school that is based in Clark County. And so our role is to, in the incubation period, really start to build up the school leader and to support the board. And our hope is that over the course of the first charter term that we are running alongside of the board, supporting a strong, sustainable board, moving them from founding to sustaining, and slowly stepping away, almost as we do in our schools with gradual release of responsibility, of slowly stepping away from some of the key decision points. And we'll outline all of that within the contract. Does that answer your question though?
Member Stern, for the record, somewhat. I do recognize that you are in the process of still needing to clarify that, but I do share the concerns that staff had raised about the current bylaws as they're written, and the need for compliance with Nevada state law that I know you're going to be working towards. It's just we're looking to approve this today. And so I did want to have a better understanding of that. But I recognize that the intention for compliance is there and obviously would be a condition for the motion. I did have one more quick wondering if Chair Thigpen, if I can indulge that.
Member Stern, would you mind if I go to Member Holmes Sutton just real quick? She's had her hand up for a little while and then come back to you.
By all means.
Okay, Member Holmes Sutton.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Are you able to hear me well?
Yes.
Excellent. One, I don't really know that the first consideration is a question as much as it is echoing the concerns for staff and those that Member Stern have raised, particularly around compensation for teachers. Also want to appreciate certainly the 4-day work week and those that are intangibles. that may be offered, and yet acknowledge we are in a space and an economy in which teachers are concerned about being able to afford housing, being able to purchase a home, being able to pay for bills and buy groceries. And so I would just like to offer strongly a consideration around ensuring that we prioritize compensating our teachers and doing so well, and not acknowledging that that will help to build the high quality student centered environment that you want. I think without also prioritizing teachers alongside of students, you will find that it will be very challenging to provide that community, that culture that you're seeking for students. Secondly, the second consideration for me around a question most specifically was the recruitment and family engagement manager. I was curious as to whether that individual will be present the entire incubation period, and if they are and or not, what are plans for continued family engagement management as you persist. And then if I may, Chair Thigpen, I have a third question after that first question presented, or a third consideration.
I can start. So the staffing model currently has the recruitment and family manager.
Name for the record.
Sorry.
I know.
Laura Furlong for the record. The staffing model currently does not have the recruitment and family manager being in place for the whole year. And that is pretty standard for how we have launched our schools in the past. We think that it's really critical for the school leader to be on the ground, engaging one-on-one with families and community partners and prospective other partners. And so Yaimara has been taking the lead, and we are working on building out a pretty robust community engagement strategy for this first of 2 years in the incubation period. There's then a decision point that needs to be made based on whether that recruitment and family manager comes on in what we call -1 year or the year before launch, or if we prioritize operations. And there's kind of a placeholder in the budget for that staff member. And that will be a decision point based on how we're seeing our recruitment efforts go. I don't know if Yaimara can speak to some of the recruitment efforts currently.
Yeah, so Mara Wheaton for the record. Yes, so I spoke earlier that I have been doing table and just sort of going door to door, leaving flyers and just creating just awareness around our brand around our schools. Another thing that we've been doing is that we're deepening the understanding of local community needs. So we are conducting listening sessions with the neighborhood leaders, educators, and families to identify gaps and opportunities to understand the local priorities. We're also analyzing enrollment trends and school performance data to ensure that the program meets the needs of the community, which we think is essential. So we want to be where we are needed the most. And we need to make sure that we're closing in the gaps of what the community actually needs. So to ensure to reach high level, the students who have high level of needs, or we're targeting the outreach to historically underrepresented neighborhoods and collaborating with community organizations that serve these families. And our strategy is designed to remove barriers to access while actively recruiting students who will benefit the most for the CWC education that we're bringing into town. So I'm excited to be doing those active efforts to ensure not just the regular students, but we're also targeting just students who need us the most.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Holmes-Sutton. We'll take your third question, and then I'll bring it back to Member Stern.
Thank you. I appreciate Member Holmes-Sutton. And so acknowledging and appreciating that the school leader will be guiding that community engagement. What does that look like as the school leader is also running the school, to have support from someone else who may serve in that capacity? And or if I can phrase the question differently, as you move forward into opening the school, will there be someone, and how will that individual engage at the school that helps to continue to support the community engagement and involvement that you speak to?
Laura Furlong for the record. Got it this time. So yes, we do have in the budget a position who will be leading recruitment and family engagement through the terms, through the first initial term. And I think your question was what will that person specifically be doing? And their role is twofold. One, it is to continue to engage the current families in our schools. So we want to ensure that we are retaining our students, so we're understanding the needs of our students and meeting the needs that they have. And then also simultaneously recruiting future students for future school years as well as for the current school year. We will have an open enrollment process, and so we'll be enrolling students throughout as we have seats. And they also will then be leading the enrollment process. They will be managed directly by the executive director for the first year, with the idea being that the executive director is the one who is working with them to set goals, both recruitment goals as well as enrollment goals on a monthly basis throughout the school year.
Thank you. All good, Member Holmes-Sutton?
I appreciate you for clarification. When you speak about the term, you're speaking about the incubation period, correct?
Sorry, I meant the charter term.
I appreciate you. If I may, are you having then ongoing family engagement throughout the extended incubation period? Are you meeting whole group with families and the families that you have recruited and or are recruiting to maintain their engagement during your extended incubation period?
Yeah, and I understand that one of the things that, right, Yamara Wheaton, for the record. Yes, so one of the things that we've done before is to ensure that we have monthly touch points with all families, and that just reduces attrition overall. And I think it's super important for them to like stay engaged. So we'll be inviting them to events, we'll be engaging them in different forms throughout the extended incubation, just to keep them engaged with us, make sure like they're active, actively getting updates from us. And we'll be doing that through social media, through newsletters, but also through Brightwheel, which is amazing for ensuring like there's no reduced attrition and there's just increased engagement with families as time proceeds. But yes, we will be engaging throughout the whole incubation periods with families, just giving them updates as often as we can. I hope that answers.
That includes meeting in person with families. I think that's my question, and perhaps I didn't form it appropriately.
Yes.
Rather than simply providing them one way, but that you would actively be engaging in person with them.
Correct. So part of that includes monthly, well, it depends on where we are in the incubation period. So sometimes bi-monthly or monthly open house meetings or like events that it's just open to the community to come in and join us and like just learn more of our community, but also like the ones who are already enrolled or interested in enrolling for them to engage with us on a one-on-one basis.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Chair Thigpen. And I may have another question after Member Stern if it is not presented in her questioning.
Thank you, Member Holmes-Sutton. I'm going to bring it back to Member Stern, and then we'll see if the overall board has questions as well. Member Stern, go ahead.
Member Stern, for the record, thank you, Chair Thigpen, and thank you to the rest of my colleagues on the board for indulging my questions with this as I'm just trying to navigate and understand CWC's vision for this. And I want to also thank Member Holmes-Sutton for her questions. They touch a little bit on where I was going around the recruitment efforts with my question here, because I know I heard I think it was 5 years and 4 years that you've been considering and exploring Las Vegas, and then also staff's concerns surrounding sort of a lack of clarity around the retention or recruitment of students here. So part of my question is, why now? What was the reason, given this lengthy period of time, for thinking about coming to Vegas, and then looking at a 2-year incubation period to kind of understand why the timing felt right for doing this, and then the need for the 2-year incubation if there's been such a long period of preparation for coming here?
Laura Furlong for the record. So part of our belief is that we do not enter communities. We don't take that decision lightly. And so before we even start to consider a charter application, it's important for us to get to know not just specific communities, but the city, the region overall. And so over the last few years, we've been supporting some school leaders in a variety of ways, both in launching their own schools, non-CWC schools, but then also just serving as coaches and supports for other leaders and other educators. This gives us an understanding of what are the challenges that educators are facing, what are the challenges that school leaders are facing, schools in general, what's the recruitment and enrollment environment like. And then at that point, if we believe that the conditions are right, it makes sense for us then to submit an application. We do not believe in starting to engage deeply with a community until we have an approved charter application. And that is just because we don't want to make promises to a community that we cannot keep. Once we have an application, once we have an approved charter application in hand is when we start to engage in a really robust recruitment process. We believe in a 2-year recruitment process or a 2-year incubation process, primarily because we think that in this day and age, with the recruitment and enrollment challenges that schools are seeing, it's really important to build a very strong network of partnerships in the communities in which you're going to serve so that you are not racing around within a 12-month period to try and find families, but families know you, community partners know you, and they can point to you and say, we know what you stand for, and we're going to trust you to send our children here.
Member Stern, for the record, my apologies if my question wasn't clear because I don't think it was quite addressed. I do appreciate that you've been engaging with the Las Vegas community for a number of years, perhaps in anticipation of coming to Las Vegas, but why now? Why does now seem to be the time that CWC, what are you hoping to fill, having seen this, that you believe is going to help you with the recruitment of families? I understand your academic model, but I'm looking to understand a little bit more about your understanding of the community that you're coming into and where you see yourselves fitting into this.
Laura Furlong for the record. A lot of it has been through our engagement with Opportunity 180. We attended the Future School Summit last fall, which was hosted by Opportunity 180, and we're able to understand at a greater level some of the needs within certain communities. That was for us almost like the turning point of it felt like we had spent several years building an understanding of what it is like to lead schools in Clark County. And at that point, hearing a lot of the overall need, both presentations from SPCSA, other parts of Clark County, it was a turning point for us, and we made the decision at that point. There was no, well, we have a rubric as a national network for how we greenlight regions. The components for us greenlighting have been green for a while in terms of submitting an application, and for us that was the final linchpin for us of seeing the need and making the decision to submit an application.
Member Stern, for the record, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Member Stern. I'll bring it back to the boardroom. I saw Member Richards' hand go up, so we'll start with her.
Thank you, Member Richards, for the record, and I appreciate the team presenting. So I have a couple questions, basically for clarity, but also about enrollment here and teacher retention. First of all, when you had mentioned, I'll give my question twofold. When you had mentioned the open houses, I wanted to know if they were in person, because I wasn't quite sure if it's virtual or in person. Number two is, and Clark County, just for the record, happens to be somewhat territorial on our community. And I know you've mentioned ways that you would get people involved, and you have said that you've researched it for 2 years prior, but I still feel like I haven't quite heard a strategy, like strategies besides, virtual meetings, open house, things that are common to do in any opening of any school. But what is new and cutting edge that sets you apart from other states or cities coming in to open a charter school here? So thank you.
This is Jamara Wheaton for the record. So yes, open houses. The initial thought is always going to be in person. I'm also open to like doing it virtually, depending on what the need is from the community. When I envision an open house, of course, I mean like coming in, learning about all the great things that we have to offer, getting to know our model, learning to know our processes, but also with the second question that you had, which is being territorial. Yes, we're working right now with facilities. We have not signed a contract yet with the Hills Group, but we're in talks with them right now, and we are trying to look at different area codes and try to make them what decision makes, like which one is more fiscally responsible for our organization right now. So we haven't finalized that yet, but yes, we are definitely looking into having in-person open houses.
And if I could, Laura Furlong for the record, if I could just build a little bit on that, one of the strategies that we found most effective has actually been building partnerships with daycares and preschools. That is, when we think about where we've been successful across all of our schools, it's building those partnerships where they will not only allow us into their daycare or their preschool to talk with their families, but they also will recommend us when their families are starting to look for potential schools for their children. I've found just in my conversations since we've been engaging directly with the community here that preschools are aware that, especially in those 2 target zip codes, that the schools that their students are going onto are not high quality. And they've expressed to me, at least, a desire to start to have other options for their families to go to. And so we see that as potentially an unmet need to be able to go in and support. Other ways that we have actually also partnered with preschools in the past is to think about how do we support them with PD? So one thing that we have tried is there a way for our team to support these preschools who are always in need of targeted PD for their staff to come in and provide some PD in support of them, which then just builds a stronger partnership and almost like a pipeline of support from the preschool all the way up through our school.
Thank you. The last question I have is once again, Member Richards for the record. What point? So if you provide the PD, what is the outcome based? Like what would the rubric look like to say that it was successful? You enroll 5 more students, or do you teach a retention? What is it in comparison to what you've seen in the past?
Laura Furlong for the record. To clarify, are you asking what's the success metric for providing PD for preschool teachers?
Well, you mentioned that it's been successful. So
Yes.
What is the success metric, as well as if it's teacher retention, how many have you retained because of it, or something specific?
Laura Furlong for the record. So we would envision being almost as a support, and that's a way of strengthening a partnership with a preschool or a daycare. So it's not necessarily them becoming our teachers, but we don't necessarily see the success as 5 more students coming from that daycare. A lot of it will depend on the size of the daycare. There was one daycare that we talked to that had 10 students total in their daycare. And for us, it's more around when that director of that daycare has a family coming to them to say, hey, we're thinking about school for kindergarten for next year for our child. What are the options that she's going to put forward that she knows are quality that she would trust? So for us, it's less around targeted metrics that come out of each, just because every situation with the preschools that we've at least engaged with have been very different based on their size, but rather it's a trust metric, I would almost say, is do they trust us, and would they send their children to our school?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Member Richards. Let me check in with the board in Las Vegas before we go back to Member Holmes Sutton. Okay, Member Holmes Sutton.
I appreciate you so much. My question was specifically around the families that are enrolling. What their response is around the school not opening for 2 years, acknowledging that often when parents are making decisions for where their children will go, they're more immediate rather than that far out into the future.
Yeah, Mara Wheaton for the record. So the response has been that they did like to receive updates. I think one of the biggest things that I've gotten from them is ensuring like they're up to date and abreast on everything that's going on with the school. With the ones that I've spoken with, their main thing is they want to know when the events are happening, what is going on, and like how can they get involved. A lot of them are just very passionate about what their education and their kids' education, and that's sort of the metric, the response that we've gotten from the community.
Laura Furlong for the record. And I'll also just add, actually, a lot of the families who signed our original letters of intent have 3-year-olds. And so they are actually at this point thinking 2 years out. And so the consistent communication that YMR is going to lead over the next 2 years of continuing to keep those families engaged and in the process is going to support to hopefully eventually enroll those families.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Holmes Sutton. Any other board colleagues in the boardroom have any questions, concerns, comments? Mhm. Any board colleagues online or in Reno? Okay, seeing none, we do have the motion that is in the memo online. Sorry, Chair Thigpen, for the record, I need to do my own advice. The motion is on pages, looks like 4 and 5. And just so my board colleagues are aware, obviously that is a lengthy motion with the conditions. If and when you make the motion, you can say, we move to approve this. And at the end, you can say, based on the requirements written below in the recommended memo, just to save, your breath if you want. But if you want to read the whole thing, you can. With that said, I will entertain a motion.
Vice Chair Haddad-Bennett. Just quickly before I make the motion, I appreciate you guys. This is really long, difficult process. Good job on making it this far. And also just want to share appreciation for how you articulated, like being really mindful and methodical about entering into a new community, what that looks like. I think we see a lot of sort of fly by night, and it shows, in some of the applications versus folks that have been really thoughtful about, is this the right place and is this the right time? And I think given sort of what you've talked about with your 2-year incubation period, being really mindful about what your timeline looks like, I think that'll be a benefit for you guys. So with that said, I will propose the motion to approve the Citizens of the World Charter School Las Vegas charter school application as submitted during the 2025 application cycle with the conditions as permitted by NAC 388A.410 and as outlined below, based on a finding that the applicant has met the requirements contained in NRS 388A.2493, in that the applicant has demonstrated competence in accordance with the criteria for approval prescribed by the SPCSA that will likely result in a successful opening and operation of the charter school. And then, does council have a preference on reading versus not? Okay. Why don't we just go ahead and read it so that there's no question here. So by November 1st, 2025, establish a board in full compliance with the requirements of NRS 388A.320. Furthermore, ensure that the board convenes quarterly meetings during the extended incubation period in accordance with the mandates of NRS 388A.320. Second, by January 1st, 2026, provide evidence that a school leader has been hired. Third, by January 1st, 2026, provide evidence that the board has approved a CMO contract that outlines the specific roles and responsibilities of all parties during the incubation period and through the original terms of the contract. This contract must be in compliance with all relevant Nevada laws and regulations. Fourth, upon approval of any additional grants or the receipt of any additional funding sources, provide an updated budget through FY 2033 to SPCSA staff. Fifth, by June 1, 2027, submit a fully executed lease for a facility that will meet the needs of the school for the 27-28 school year to serve the 89121 and 89122 zip codes. At the conclusion of the new school enrollment audit in June 2027, provide evidence that Citizens of the World Charter School Las Vegas has at least 135 students enrolled for the 27-28 school year. By June 8th, 2027, submit a board-approved final budget that includes revenue based on the fully enrolled student count at the time of board approval and accurately incorporates expenses for the identified facility. And 8, complete the SPCSA pre-opening process for new charter schools, which includes meeting document submission deadlines as required by SPCSA staff, participating in required trainings, and attending monthly meetings. And then obviously, and then pursuant to NAC 388A, all conditions set forth must be met for the school to open in the 27-28 school year. And that's my motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. So we do have the motion, including all the conditions as outlined by staff. Do I have a second?
So moved, or second.
Thank you, Member Salcido. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
Thank you very much. The motion does pass. And the school has been approved. So congratulations. Thank you for being here. That does close out agenda item 7A. I do want to check in with colleagues. Do we need a 5-minute convenience break? I know we have a long day ahead of us, but I want to see how everyone's doing. Good. Okay. All right. We will, Chair Thigpen, for the record, we will go ahead and open agenda item 7B, Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori School. And Danny, is it back to you?
It's me.
All right, Dr. Broughton.
All right, good morning. Thank you, everybody. My name is Katie Broughton. I serve as the Director of Authorizing for the SPCSA. Item 7B is the new charter application for Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori. The proposed school plans to open in Washoe County within the 89502, 89431, 89512, or 89503 zip codes, serving kindergarten through 3rd grade with an initial enrollment of 29 students. The school intends to expand to kindergarten through 8th grade with a total enrollment of 171 students, and a complete enrollment chart is provided on page 2 of the memo. I will also note the school plans to operate a preschool program, which will likely be funded by tuition to begin. The school plans to apply for Nevada Ready pre-K seats and hopes to offer pre-K at no cost to families as soon as possible. As part of our new application review process, the SPCSA consults with local school districts and invites their input on applications proposed within their boundaries. Washoe County School District's feedback is included as an exhibit to this item, and I will provide a brief summary. WCSD identified the schools within the proposed zip codes and notes that there are 2 elementary schools within the proposed zip codes that are approaching 100% of capacity. They also included information regarding the facilities modernization plan and note the anticipated reconstruction of 10 currently operating facilities within the identified zip codes by 2039. Finally, the feedback spoke to specific demographic and academic needs within the proposed zip codes and noted that because there is a wide range of need in the identified areas, it is unclear if the proposal would meet the needs of the community it plans to serve. The SPCSA also values public input as part of the review process. In addition to the community engagement expected of applicants, the SPCSA posts a public comment survey on our website. For this application, 43 individuals submitted responses expressing support for Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori, and 3 individuals submitted letters opposing the proposed school. After careful review, the review committee recommends approving the application with conditions, which I will review at the end of my remarks. Staff agrees with the recommendation and believe the applicant has satisfied the requirements contained in NRS 388A.249. The review committee rated the 5 application sections as follows. Meeting the need, meet the standard. Academic section, meet the standard. Operations section, meets the standard. Financial section, meets the standard. And addendum, meets the standard. A complete list of ratings for each subsection of the application can be found on page 6 of the memo. I will now offer additional detail regarding staff's recommendation, outlining key findings within each subsection. My remarks will provide a high-level summary of the information contained in the memo. Following these comments, I'd be pleased to respond to any questions regarding the highlighted findings or any elements of the recommendation not specifically addressed in my summary. I'm going to start with the meeting the needs section of the application, which was rated overall as meets standard, with 3 of 3 subsections being rated as meets the standard. The committee to form proposes a Montessori public charter school with the mission to provide a high-quality, holistic, and authentic Montessori education that integrates rigorous academic standards and emotional intelligence. Honoring all backgrounds and cultures, students are empowered to reach their full potential and become compassionate leaders, innovators, and ethical citizens who contribute positively to the world as change makers. The mission and vision statements explain how the school will meet the needs of the community and intended student population. The focus on individualized instruction, cultural responsiveness, and community engagement is intended to help all students succeed. Research-based evidence was provided showing the Montessori model's effectiveness in improving academic and socio-emotional outcomes for diverse and underserved students. The model structure supports students with disabilities, English language learners, and economically disadvantaged students through differentiated instruction and inclusive practices. Key supporters and community partners were identified, many of which serve the targeted zip codes. Strategies for engagement included multilingual information session, volunteer opportunities, and embedding parent voice in school-level decision-making. Next, I will move to the academic section, which was rated overall as meets the standard. 8 of the 9 subsections were rated as meets the standard, and I will briefly summarize some of the key reasons for those ratings. The application presents a clear theory of change and educational strategy aligned with the mission, including a realistic plan to close opportunity gaps and improve outcomes for at-risk students. It details faithful implementation of the Montessori model through staff training, curriculum adaptation, monitoring, and cites data from similar schools demonstrating positive results. The instructional model and learning environment are aligned with the mission and academic program and include curriculum materials selected to match the Montessori approach and state standards. The academic plan includes arts, health, PE, computer education, technology integration, differentiated strategies for diverse learners, and layered assessments to guide instruction. Proposed promotion and retention policies set high expectations for all grade levels using assessments such as NWEA MAP and classroom evaluations to track growth and mastery. A tiered intervention process supports students at risk of retention through individualized plans, family collaboration, and alignment of academic and behavioral supports. The Driving for Results subsection includes SMART goals, quarterly benchmarks, mission-specific measures, and assessments aligned to state standards, supported by regional performance data. Embedded support systems, defined intervention triggers, and data-driven decision-making processes are used to guide instruction, professional development, and program adjustments. The committee to form outlines research-based tiered interventions for academic, behavioral, and social-emotional needs with proactive family engagement and individualized support plans. While identification and support strategies for special populations are clear, the initial proposal to transfer certain students was corrected after the committee to form acknowledged the requirement to serve all enrolled students. The professional development plan emphasizes alignment to the Montessori model, ongoing training, and a structured coaching process with observation, data analysis, and goal setting. External experts, Montessori networks, and biweekly child study process sessions supported specialized instruction, intervention strategies, and diverse learner needs. The proposed school culture includes specific strategies for fostering high expectations through culturally responsive inclusive practices and consistent integration of socio-emotional learning. A structured plan for establishing norms, supporting new students, and monitoring culture-related goals ensures alignment with the education program and ongoing progress evaluation. The discipline plan limits exclusionary practices while outlining clear suspension procedures, due process protections, and rights for students with disabilities. Discipline data will be monitored for disproportionality to safeguard equity and protect vulnerable student populations. The applicant's proposed calendar and schedule meet statutory requirements and include an attendance and truancy policy, along with proactive measures like immediate follow-up on absences and intervention meetings. These strategies are designed to address and reduce absenteeism. The next section is operations, and this section was rated overall as meets the standard, with 8 of 8 subsections being rated as meet the standard. And I will briefly summarize some of the key reasons for those ratings. The governance structure clearly defines the roles of school leadership and the governing board, supports oversight in key areas, and leverages governance committees to strengthen practices. The board meets statutory requirements, has diverse experience, and demonstrated alignment with the mission and vision during the capacity interview. Plans are in place to ensure community representation, engage stakeholders, resolve grievances, and avoid prohibited relationships between board members and staff or CMO employees. The committee to form has strong qualifications, experience with diverse student populations, and a clear plan for recruiting a school leader whose background aligns with the mission and supports special populations. Their proposed leadership structure, coaching and evaluation plan, and demonstrated understanding of the Montessori model promote effective management, shared leadership, and staff engagement. The staffing plan aligns with the school's mission and academic program, featuring reasonable student-teacher ratios and a commitment to serving special populations in the community. The structure provided adequate capacity for instruction, professional development, family engagement, and compliance. The staff recruitment plan includes strategies to hire qualified teachers, leaders, and staff with attention to the anticipated student population. It defines performance management aligned to the Nevada Educator Performance Framework, also known as the NEPF, and outlines steps for addressing underperformance and fostering leadership development. The student recruitment and enrollment plan sets realistic targets, timelines, staffing, and monitoring processes to ensure minimum enrollment benchmarks are met while maintaining communication with interested families to convert interest into enrollment. Outreach strategies demonstrate an understanding of the community and include actions to ensure equitable access for educationally disadvantaged students. Although a weighted lottery is proposed to prioritize certain student groups, the plan does not clearly address how preferences for board and staff children will be balanced with serving the intended student population. This was a concern for the review team, particularly due to the small size of the proposed school at the start. The incubation year plan specifies key milestones, actions, and accountability measures to ensure readiness for opening. Responsibilities are assigned to designated individuals, including Year Zero staff and CMO representatives, with identified funding sources for their compensation. The services plan covers food service, cleaning, nursing, and school safety, emphasizing accessibility, compliance, and alignment with Montessori principles. Strategies include reducing stigma around free and reduced lunch, fostering community involvement in maintaining the school environment, and establishing clear safety protocols. Facility plans align with the projected student population and academic plan, including spaces for special populations and outdoor learning. A realistic timeline, budgeting, and facility partner selection process demonstrates the applicant's capacity to manage facility acquisition and preparation. Finally, the financial section was rated as meets the standard. The committee to form plans to contract a qualified financial manager through a request for proposal process to ensure accurate and timely financial information for decision-making. Budget documents demonstrate a focus on protecting mission-critical expenses and maintaining financial viability with no signs of potential insolvency. The Wildflower Foundation CMO has committed $1 million in startup funds for the school, which will support the school through the incubation year and into their first year of operation. The committee to form clarified and amended PERS contributions and CSP grant funding, offering further detail on the management and startup costs and tight budget margins. Overall, these measures contributed to the financial plan being rated as meets the standards. As I'm reading this, I'm also realizing I did not write talking points for the addendum section, which was rated as meets the standard, and all subsections within were rated as meets the standard. To summarize and underscore the reasons I have outlined this morning, staff is recommending that the authority approve this applicant with several conditions that align to the areas of concern I've noted. The proposed conditions are, by January 1st, 2026, provide evidence that a school leader has been hired. By January 15th, 2026, provide enrollment and lottery policies that ensure equitable access for families from the identified community and alignment with the school's commitment to serve a diverse student body, specifically in relation to priorities given to board and staff member children. These policies should ensure that there are reserved spaces for students who do not qualify for priority enrollment. 3, by March 15th, 2026, provide evidence that the Student and Family Handbook includes language affirming compliance with all applicable federal and state law regarding the enrollment of students with disabilities. This must include a statement that the school will accept students regardless of IEP placement and will provide all services under each student's IEP. By June 1st, 2026, submit a fully executed lease for a facility that will meet the needs of the school for the 2026-2027 school year, located in the 89502, 89503, 89506, 89512, 89519, 89501, 89431, or 89433 zip codes. 5, at the conclusion of the new school enrollment audit in June 26, provide evidence that Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori has at least 23 students enrolled for the 2026-2027 school year. By June 8th, 2026, submit a board-approved final budget that includes revenue based on the fully enrolled student count at the time of board approval and accurately incorporates expenses for the identified facility. And number 7, complete the SPCSA pre-opening process for new charter schools, which includes meeting document submission deadlines as required by SPCSA staff, participating in required trainings, and attending monthly meetings. Should the board wish to approve this application, a proposed motion can be found on pages 4 to 5 of the memo, and I'm happy to take any question that the authority may have of staff.
Thank you very much, Dr. Broughton. We will now, Chair Thigpen for the record, we will now open it up if the school has, as an option, up to 3 minutes of commentary. I do believe we have, I should say the applicant has things they want to share with the board. Now's the time to do so. I believe they are online if we have a representative.
Hi, yes. This is Kelly Ryder for the record. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Kelly Ryder. I'm the committee to form liaison, and I'm really excited to be here with 3 committee members, Jessica, Amy, and Christina, and 2 members of our Wildflower Foundation, Erin and Isabel. Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori began with us, a pair of successful Montessori educators with a track record of getting great outcomes from our most marginalized students. We noticed our unique approach wasn't available to students and families who needed it most, and we wondered, why is authentic Montessori education so hard to access, especially for our underserved families? After talking to parents, we learned about long wait lists and the lack of schools where Montessori trained teachers could practice Montessori with fidelity. Out of those experiences and conversations came Northern Nevada Wildflower, an intentionally small, community-embedded public Montessori school with a plan to serve families from low-income communities and our special populations. The need is clear. Our target community includes majority free and reduced lunch, high numbers of English language learners and special populations, and zip codes predominantly served by 1- and 2-star schools. The only public Montessori charter is already at capacity, and private Montessori is out of reach for many of our families. In the past 5 months, we've collected over 115 enrollment interest forms, quadruple our year 1 capacity of 29 seats. Families are waiting, and local nonprofits, businesses, and community groups are partnering with us because they see Northern Nevada Wildflower as more than a school. It's a hub for equity and inclusion. We offer a proven high-quality Montessori model that drives strong outcomes. We plan to do this by hiring highly trained Montessori guides and effective, experienced teachers. Our small structure allows us to be responsive and adaptable to the needs of our underserved students. Financially, our model is stable and tested. Multi-age classrooms. Multi-age classrooms provide staffing flexibility, which reduces risk. Our budget is conservative because we're realistic about our enrollment and our facility cost. Our stability is even stronger because we're part of the Wildflower Foundation. Through them, we will receive a federal CSP grant, receive direct support at every phase of our existence, and have access to low-interest loans and additional seed grants. Our plan for transparent governance, a smart use of back office supports, and the board's and Wildflower's regular financial oversight will ensure that we remain in the black from day one. Montessori teaches us to see every child as capable, curious, and whole. Northern Nevada Wildflower is ready to bring this vision to underserved students in Reno Sparks through a unique, community-rooted, high-quality model. With your approval, we can offer families an option they have been asking for, a joyful, transformative education that honors both their hearts and mind. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Chair Thigpen, for the record, I will bring it back to the board to see if we have any questions, comments, concerns, either for staff or for the applicant. Go ahead.
Board Member Aldava, how will the school ensure that all required services from each student's IEP are provided effectively?
So we have budgeted for special
Your name
ed.
for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, this is Kelly Ryder for the record. We have budgeted for special ed teachers, including a general special ed teacher, OT, PT, and other necessary service providers on a contract basis. Since we are a small community school, they will be on a full-time basis until our enrollment is at our capacity. And we already have several teachers that have reached out to us interested in these positions.
Thank you. Any other board colleagues here in Las Vegas? All right, Vice Chair, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. So we heard a little bit about staff's concerns around differentiating board and employee students as priority enrollment, and then sort of how that fits in with recruitment. Otherwise, talk to us a little bit about what your goals are. Obviously, year one, I think if I'm looking at it right, you're looking at 29 students, a really small group of kids. So tell us about how you're thinking about recruitment and sort of what do you think that balance will look like?
Yes, so we totally heard the concerns at the capacity interview about this board and staff priority enrollment. And I want to ensure the board that our vision is to serve the community, and that is at the heart of who we are. So we're going to be reevaluating this with our team, with our proposed board, and our Wildflower team, as well as members of our community and parents that have already shown interest in our school, to find that balance. For example, if we are at, like, one option like we're looking into is if we're at capacity at 190 students, and we say 10% of those students are priority enrollment from board and staff. And once we hit that 10% on a first come, first served basis, and that's the end. But we haven't made those decisions yet, but we want to ensure that the students from our special populations and free and reduced lunch populations and our students that are being predominantly served by 1- and 2-star schools are going to have priority enrollment.
Vice Chair Hadda-Bennett, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you providing that explanation. And I think there is absolutely value, right, in providing priority enrollment for, you know, staff and board members, if nothing else, as an incentive, right? Again, for bringing on educators. So I get that, and I appreciate your thinking around sort of how do we make this make sense. And so I think we'll look forward to seeing what that looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any comments, questions, concerns from board colleagues online or in Reno? Member Stern.
Member Stern, for the record, just very quickly, acknowledging that you said you have high demand, and there's intentionality behind starting off small. I guess my question though is why quite so small? Because we're looking at classes of like 6 to 9, it looks like, with an intent to move up to 27. So if the demand is there and the financial support of the Wildflower Foundation is there, help me understand why such a cautious approach, especially given the concerns that were raised around the lottery issues with board member children.
So Wildflower overall's model is intentionally small community-based schools.
Sorry, your name for the record.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Kelly Ryder for the record. Wildflower schools are intentionally small community embedded schools. And one of our intentions behind that is to ensure that we have that community embeddedness by engaging with our families on a, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? On a deeper level, so that we can be responsive to their needs and build our school intentionally and slowly. And our teacher leaders are a large component of the development of our school. And so as bringing on new teacher leaders in a more intentional way, in this kind of slow build up, like, right, we have our first 2 classrooms in year 1 and 2, and then in year 3, we bring on additional 4 teacher leaders to begin the next phase of growth. And so that we can have those teacher leaders, they're going to be coming on in year 2 on a part-time basis to plan for when their classrooms open, so they can build those relationships with their families or future families and our community. And then additionally, the classrooms aren't 6 and 7 students in each classrooms because we're multi-age classrooms. So, and because we have the proposed preschool, which is a proven model, like 11 preschoolers will be with the 9 kindergartners to make a total primary classroom of 20 students. And then the same with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. So they're grouped by primary classroom, lower elementary classroom, and upper L classrooms. And then these upper L classrooms slowly build as with retention of students over the years. Does that answer your question?
Member Stern, for the record, yes, I appreciate the clarification. I did know that you were multi-year classrooms, but it just, you know, looking at the numbers on a grid and keeping in mind that your program is different, I appreciate that clarification. And then just one more quick question, because Montessori requires the teachers, I know, to be certified as Montessori teachers. So for your initial recruitment, I again apologize if this was, and these are lengthy applications, do my best to review them, but if I missed this, I'm sorry. Are you looking to recruit folks who are already certified as Montessori teachers, or how are you looking to open, I guess, as a Montessori with the required certifications that you need for that in that year one?
Yes, so our committee to form, we already have several Montessori teachers, certified teachers on our committee to form, and 2 of us were proposed teacher leaders for year one. And as we move forward and recruit teachers, it is our priority to find teachers that are fully certified in Montessori education. But we also have contingency plans for setting aside professional development money if there are no applicants that are already Montessori certified. But as far as recruitment, Wildflower has a national outreach within the Montessori community, and then there are also other, like the National Center for Montessori in the Public Sector and other organizations like that that help us advertise if we need to find somebody from outside of Reno. But our goal is to invest in teachers and staff, perhaps even assistants that are interested in becoming educators, to be able to support them in becoming a teacher leader, becoming Montessori certified. So we have that set aside in our budget. And because there are 2 other Montessori schools, one public and one private here in Reno, there is a pool of educators that may be looking for a different type of school to join. So we do believe we have a large applicant pool to pull from.
Member Stern, for the record, thank you. That's all the questions I have at this time.
Thank you, Member Stern. Any other questions or comments, concerns? Oh, I see Member Salcido.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really quickly, thank you for your application and for all the work that goes into it. As a resident of Washoe County, I appreciate the opportunity to hopefully provide some needed, I think, diversity in learning and teaching methods for public schools here. So I appreciate that. It's already been touched upon, but I just want to make sure you understand, and it sounds like you do. I'm confident you do. But with that size, right, I think we've addressed some of the potential financial issues. I know our staff does a very deep dive on that because it's an issue they take seriously. And I'm confident with your associated foundation and everything else you've discussed that should work out. But I again want to emphasize not only the suggestion that you make sure that access is equitable to those target populations you talked about. Right now I said suggestion, and it's not a suggestion, right? If we do the staff recommendation, it is a condition. So it is something that staff is going to review. And if there's some concern still, and I get it, I get like one of my colleagues said, I get why we have priority for staff and board members, makes sense to me. But I also, like you've said, the whole purpose of this is to offer this kind of school for populations that don't have access to it currently in Washoe County. So if we have a school that's just made up of children of the staff members and the board members, that defeats the whole purpose. And again, as a condition for approval, it will trigger us to take that charter away. So again, not so much a question, just an emphasis, and appreciate all the work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Salcido. Any other commentary from board members online? Okay. Anything from members in the boardroom?
May I say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, was that?
I'm Erin Quigley from Wildflower, and am I allowed to respond to?
Well, your commentary period's already passed. Now we're in a Q&A period, so that 3 minutes that Ms. Ryder used earlier, that would have been the opportunity.
Oh, so only Kelly can respond to the
Yeah,
question.
the applicant overall, you know, where the previous applicant had two people speaking, so we're in a Q&A period right now.
Got it. Okay.
I think she might be trying to answer.
Oh, are you trying to answer a question, Ms. Quigley? Oh, okay, I apologize. I misunderstood. Go ahead.
And I maybe that it wasn't a question. I don't want to like go out of order, but point of order, from just to address your concern, we would as a partner organization, we would never support the opening of a school if the intent of it was to ever just support the children of the educators. And our CSP grant is contingent on the commitment of this school supporting the community directly. And so we provide that oversight to ensure that. And so I just want to double down on and answer any concerns that folks might have about that.
Thank you very much. All good, Member Salcido?
All good, thank you.
Ready.
Thanks, Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. And thank you for those additional comments, Ms. Quigley. I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready to hear it. Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the Northern Nevada Wildflower Montessori application as submitted during the 2025 application cycle with the conditions as permitted by NAC 388A.410 and as outlined in the recommendation memo, based on a finding that the applicant has met the requirements contained in NRS 388A.2493 and that the applicant has demonstrated competence in accordance with the criteria for approval prescribed by the SPCSA that will likely result in a successful opening and operation of the school. I think Dr. Broughton already read each of these conditions into the record, so I just want to note that. And specific to the conditions that are in the recommendation memo on page 5.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for the motion. Do we have a second?
Board Member Aldaba, I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, I rushed into the opposition. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Your school is approved. Congratulations, and thank you for your time and effort into this. All right, that closes out agenda item 7B. Let's do a 5-minute convenience break. We'll temporarily adjourn, and we'll be right back at, let's see, my math isn't mathing, 11:22. Thank you.
Hey, we're up next. We should both turn on our cameras. I'll say a little something and then you can, add on to it what you.
All right, it's 11:22. I think everyone's back. Are we ready? Okay. Chair Thigpen for the record. We're coming back from a small break and we're going to bring it back to agenda item 7C, Pahrump Valley Academy. And is it back to you, Dr. Broughton? Okay.
It is. All right, thank you again. My name is Katie Broughton for the record. Members of the authority, item 7C is the new charter application for Pahrump Valley Academy, referred to as PVA throughout the application in my remarks. The proposed school plans to open in Nye County within the city of Pahrump, serving kindergarten through 5th grade with an initial enrollment of 275 students. The school intends to expand to kindergarten through 8th grade with a total enrollment of 450 students, and a complete enrollment chart is provided on page 2 of the memo. As part of our new application review process, the SPCSA consults with local school districts and invites their input on applications proposed within their boundaries. Nye County School District's feedback is included as an exhibit to this item, and I will provide a brief summary. Nye County School District indicates they currently have sufficient school space to serve all K-8 students within the proposed zip codes, and notes that they do not have enough sufficient information or knowledge to provide any additional input. SPCSA also values public input as part of the review process. In addition to the community engagement expected of applicants, the SPCSA posts a public comment survey on our website. The application did not receive any public input. After careful review, the review committee recommends denying this application, and staff concurs with this recommendation, concluding that the applicant has not met the requirements outlined in NRS 388A.249. The review committee rated the 4 application sections as follows: meeting the need, meets the standard; academic section, approaches the standard; operations section, approaches the standard; and financial plan section, approaches the standard. A complete list of ratings for each subsection of the application can be found on page 5 of the memo. I will now offer additional detail regarding staff's recommendation, outlining the key findings within each section. My remarks will provide a high-level summary of the information contained in the memo. And following these comments, I'll be pleased to respond to any questions regarding the highlighted findings or any element of the recommendation not specifically addressed in my summary. I'm going to start with the meeting the needs section of the application. Overall, this section was rated as meets the standard, with 2 of the 3 sections being rated as meets the standard. The committee to form proposes a college preparatory classical public charter school with the mission to provide a rigorous college preparatory classic education focused on standards mastery, personal growth, and leadership development. Through high expectations, individualized support, and equitable access to high-quality instruction, PVA prepares all students to succeed in high school, college, and career, and empowers them to contribute meaningfully to their communities and the world. The Pahrump Valley Academy proposal outlines a clear mission and vision focused on meeting community needs and preparing students for success beyond high school. It sets strong academic, social, emotional, and organizational and financial goals to support long-term student well-being and career readiness. The application identifies low school ratings in the target zip codes and academic disparities, particularly for Hispanic students, as key reasons for establishing the school, supported by local and national data. However, the committee to form showed limited understanding of the classical education model and did not show collaboration with successful classical charter schools, nor were they able to clearly explain how the model would serve all student groups or improve long-term outcomes. The committee to form engaged the community through events such as town halls, open houses, and local festivals, gathering support and feedback for PVA. The proposal outlines ongoing parental involvement plans and provides some evidence of community demand, including written family support. Next, I will move to the academic section, which was rated overall as approaches the standard. 0 of the 9 subsections were rated as meets the standard, and I will briefly summarize some of the key reasons for those ratings. The committee to form outlines a clear educational strategy and theory of change aimed at creating a high-performing school that supports historically underserved students, aligning with the SPCSA strategic goals. However, several key elements of the model, such as the competency-based approach, MTSS, SAVAS curriculum, and intervention blocks, lack sufficient evidence or explanation of how they will work together to achieve the mission and vision. The application identifies curricula aligned with the Nevada academic content standards and proposes instructional strategies within a classical education framework, including explicit instruction, Socratic seminar, leader and me, portfolios, and project-based learning. However, some elements do not appear to align with the classical model, and the application lacks clarity on how these approaches will integrate cohesively to meet student needs. The committee to form presents clear multi-tiered promotion and graduation requirements for kindergarten through 8th grade students. These requirements incorporate academic, social, emotional, and behavior criteria, along with MTSS, progress monitoring, and intervention protocols. But it remains unclear if these are adequate structures that will support overage students, those significantly below grade level, and special populations. The applicant proposes a comprehensive assessment system using various formative and summative assessments to monitor both proficiency and growth, but the plan lacks clarity on timelines, data analysis processes, meeting structures, and data management, raising concerns about the feasibility of the goals. The committee to form outlines a compliant process for identifying, planning, and monitoring services for students with disabilities, Section 504 plans, and other special populations, with annual and triennial reviews to ensure family involvement. While the proposed executive director brings relevant experience, concerns remain about leadership capacity as other founding members lack comparable expertise and the leadership roles combine significant operational and special population responsibilities. The application also lacks specific targets, detailed service plans, and clear instructional approaches for English learners, students with disabilities, and homeless and migrant students. The application provides a general overview of coaching and professional development, but lacks clear details on scheduling, leadership, and specific training for special populations. Without a detailed plan for teacher preparation and ongoing support, there are concerns about instructional effectiveness and the achievement of academic goals. The committee to form outlines effective strategies to build a positive school climate aligned with its mission, including setting social expectations, promoting high standards, and addressing uniform access for economically disadvantaged students. However, the plan lacks measurable goals and clear monitoring processes for school culture, provides limited detail on social emotional support, and raises concerns about leadership capacity in the first year due to the delayed hiring of a dean of students. The proposed discipline policies are aligned with Nevada law and designate staff for implementation, but provides only a basic plan to protect special populations from disproportionate impact. The application and capacity interview lacked clarity on compliance with 504 plans and IEPs, as well as how restorative practices will be integrated for all students. Additionally, the proposal outlines general discipline features, but lacks a cohesive plan with measurable goals, structured restorative processes, and clear monitoring protocols. The applicant's proposed calendar and schedule meet statutory requirements and align teacher and student time, including daily prep periods and embedded professional development. However, details are needed on how schedules vary by grade, especially for middle school, and how attendance policies and minimum instructional days will be tailored to the school's model. The next section is operations, and this section was rated overall as approaches the standard. 2 of the 8 subsections were rated as meets the standard, and I will briefly summarize some of the key reasons for those ratings. The proposed governance structure establishes clear roles and responsibilities between leadership and the 6-member board, ensuring effective oversight of school performance, operations, and finances. Board members have demonstrated strong community engagement that is likely to continue and demonstrated a strong understanding of the school's mission and governance responsibilities. The organizational chart, however, clearly defines board and leadership roles, with the executive director evaluated using a comprehensive Danielson-based tool to ensure consistent accountability across administrative levels. While goals for the principal and executive director are aligned with the school's priorities, the leadership team's capacity to impact student outcomes, particularly for diverse and special populations, was lacking in specific evidence. The proposed staffing plan aligns with the school's model, mission, and budget, but lacks clarity on key early hires and role distribution. Additional gaps include insufficient leadership development, unclear support for at-risk and special populations, and a professional development plan that needs more detail to ensure teacher effectiveness. The The application presents recruitment and hiring strategies designed to attract high-quality staff reflective of the student body, supported by a competitive compensation structure and opportunities for leadership, professional growth, and positive culture. While some key HR processes are outlined and a performance management system is proposed, further clarity is needed on how struggling teachers will be identified, supported, and guided through improvement. The PVA proposal outlines multilingual recruitment materials and a clear lottery process by grade level if applications exceed available seats. Evidence of strong demand is shown with over 100 interested families, which is 30% of the projected enrollment, and students and a plan to admit students on a first come, first served basis until capacity is reached. The incubation plan outlines tasks, responsibilities, and a timeline with key roles filled by volunteer leadership and committee to form members transitioning to the governing board. However, concerns about financial viability, lack of a dedicated budget, reliance on volunteer efforts, and gaps in milestone planning raise questions as to whether or not the incubation year plan will lead to a successful school launch. The PVA operations plan outlines essential non-academic services, including food service, nursing, transportation, and safety, with conservative cost estimates and plans to solicit vendors or partner with local providers. However, the plan lacks sufficient staffing or contractor capacity, clear lines of authority, and defined metrics for evaluating service effectiveness. The facility plan lacks clarity on meeting the needs of the projected student population and program, with concrete discussions pending SPCSA approval and limited details on potential options. While preliminary planning aligns space estimates with the instructional model, the committee to form has not sufficiently demonstrated capacity to manage selection, leasing, development, or ongoing facility operations, posing a potential barrier to school opening and effective operations. Finally, the financial section was rated as approaches the standard. The financial plan raises concerns about the accuracy and conservatism of projections, allocation of funds, and overall financial viability, with unclear roles between the leadership team, board, and back office providers. Outstanding questions remain regarding reliance on maximum enrollment projections, incomplete planning costs for incubation in year one expenses, and insufficient financial controls, all of which pose significant risks to the school's long-term stability and operational readiness. To summarize and underscore the reasons I have outlined this morning, staff is recommending that the authority deny this applicant, and a proposed motion can be found on page 4 of the memo. I'm happy to take any questions that the authority may have of staff.
Thank you very much, Dr. Broughton. Chair Thigpen for the record. We will now open it up if there are any representatives from the applicant with us. You do have the option to give 3 minutes of commentary to the board. It is timed by our vice chair, who will call time if we arrive at that. Do we have a representative of the applicant with us online?
Dr. Shabel Marendi.
Okay, and you can both speak if you need to within the 3-minute time period, just so you're aware. Be sure to state your name for the record. I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Dr. Shabel Marendi, proposed Executive Director for PVA. We like to begin with thanking all of you for everything you do to further the cause of education in our state. We are all from PROMP. We are residents, although I am right now speaking with you from the Arctic, where I do a little something else in education again. I am a researcher and a principal out here. We have read all the feedback. We are very grateful for the feedback. We have been at this for 7 years now in PROMP, and we feel that every feedback you have given us has made us better. We do work on the feedback as a community. We have already scheduled and assigned roles in addressing the feedback you have given us, and we will reach out to Katie and Melissa both to make appointments and review the feedback. We plan to address it and submit our revisions.
Thank you very much.
Michelle, who's also with me, is a resident of PROMP.
So we, again, as Sable said, Michelle Cared for the record. We did take all of the information provided seriously. Our team met. We are scheduled and planning on, as Sable said, resubmitting. And we just appreciate the authority tremendously and all your feedback that you provided us. We are trying very hard to provide a school here in Pahrump to better the education of our children.
May I add one more word? We would like to acknowledge our colleagues in education for having given their feedback as well, our local school district. We do have a very, very large homeschool base because too many of our residents do not send their kids to our schools and do not feel sufficiently heard and addressed by our schools, which is why you see a large intent to enroll number, which was actually provided without any of us campaigning through a website in 2 weeks. But
Okay.
thank you to the leadership of our local school system for providing their feedback as well.
Thank you very much for your commentary. We'll bring it back to the board for discussion. I will start with board members in the boardroom. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, I appreciate your guys' comments. I think it's clear that you guys have demonstrated that there is a need, and that I think that, you guys can be really successful in the area that you're looking to serve over in Pahrump and Nye County. And it was great to hear that you are looking deeply at the feedback and continuing to, and that, you're looking at resubmitting. I think that that's, I'm glad to hear that, and glad that you're working directly with staff to make those corrections and revisions. Obviously, there was, pieces here and there throughout the application that need to be addressed. And so we look forward to hopefully seeing a even better application in the future.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Any other items from board members here in Las Vegas? Okay. Any board members online have anything they'd like to share? Member Salcido.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Sable and Michelle and anybody else here who's on behalf of the school for your maturity and for all your efforts in trying to bring this school. I suspect I'm not alone when I say that. Like, I think you are very, very close, and I think if you do, like you have in the past, take the feedback and resubmit, I do think you'll be able to get there. So again, thank you for your professionalism, and we look forward to seeing an application again from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Member
Thank
Salcido.
you.
Member Stern.
Member Stern, for the record, very briefly, I also want to express my appreciation for your receptiveness to feedback and your obvious passion for the work that you're doing, and the recognition that the feedback from staff and the commentary from the board recognizes the effort that it takes to submit an application from any applicant, and certainly the challenge that one must experience in knowing that you're being recommended for denial. I do want to emphasize that there is not any particular school model or right answer in the application. That really what we're looking for is meeting the criteria on the rubric and having an understanding of what your plan is and how it's going to meet the needs. I'm a big believer that there is no one right answer in education, because we have such diverse needs throughout not just the students that we serve here in Nevada, but nationally. And so I do hope that if you are considering a reapplication, that you just make sure that whatever you're putting in really is a reflection of your understanding of the community, and know that there's not a particular answer that we are looking for. And truly, I think best applications that come in are those that reflect the understanding of the applicants and the alignment to the community need. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Stern. Any other comments from board? Oh, I see Member Holmes Sutton with her hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I too wanted to echo the sentiment of my board colleagues and appreciate your leadership, appreciate your receptiveness, and continue to stress that our team is here for you to help you to be successful. And we appreciate you so much in the way that you lean in with your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Holmes Sutton. Okay, Chair Thigpen, for the record, we do have a motion provided by staff for consideration of the board. I will just have my own quick comments before we move into that I again appreciate the applicant's time. I know you mentioned it's been 7 years, and we appreciate your dedication into getting this right. And I also want to recognize our staff and their dedication in getting this right. You know, any school that we choose to sponsor is a great responsibility, not just for the applicant, but for us. And we definitely want to make sure that we're setting everybody up for long-term success. With that said, I will entertain a motion.
Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, make a motion to deny the Pahrump Valley Academy application as submitted during the 2025 application cycle, based on a finding that the applicant has failed to satisfy the requirements contained in NRS 388A.2493, in that the applicant has failed to demonstrate competence in accordance with the criteria for approval prescribed by the SPCSA that will likely result in successful opening and operation of the charter school. And also to designate Director McAdin to meet and confer with the applicant.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Member Richards.
Thank you, Member Richards. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We wish you luck with the next steps. Okay, we will close out agenda item 7C. I do want to check in with board colleagues. We're at 11:43. I know I had said somewhere close to noon or afternoon. We can take a lunch break now, or we can wait a little bit longer if you wish. Okay, staff, how are you feeling? That's such responsibility.
Let's keep going.
All right, if that's the will of the board. Okay, we'll go into agenda item 7D, and after that one, we will for sure take a lunch break. So back to you, Dr. Rotten, I think.
This one's going to be Danny.
Thank you, Executive Director McAdin. Thank you, members of the board. Danny Peltier for the record. Item 7D is the new charter application for Pathways in Education Las Vegas. As proposed, the school plans to open in Las Vegas within either the 89030, 89031, or 89032 zip codes with 9th through 12th grades with 225 students, and eventually grow to 330 students in 9th through 12th grades. A complete enrollment chart can be found on page 2 of the memo before you. As the authority is aware, the SPCSA engages with districts, and CCSD provided some feedback on this application. First, CCSD identifies one-star school in the 89030 zip code and no one-star schools in the 89031 and 89032 zip codes, which are the zip codes Pathways intends to locate and primarily serve. CCSD also notes the zip codes of the intended service area encompass a geographic area with 5 middle schools with varying demographic profiles. Through the 2015 Capital Improvement Program, the Clark County School District has invested within these zip codes to support the community needs. Finally, CCSD indicates that they believe this applicant aligns with 2 of the 4 portions of the academic and demographic needs assessment, specifically the demographic component and the academic geographies. As the authority is also aware, the SPCSA values public input. The SPCSA did receive 15 surveys on our public surveys that we posted on our website. Overall, and after careful consideration, the review committee recommended this application be denied. Staff agrees with this recommendation and believe that the applicant has not satisfied the requirements contained in NRS 388A.249. The review committee rated the 5 application sections as follows: meeting the need, meets the standard. Academic, approaches the standard. Operations, approaches the standard. Financial, approaches the standard. Addendum approaches the standard. A complete list of ratings for each subsection of the application can be found on page 5 of the memo. I'm going to provide a bit more detail regarding staff's recommendation and breakdown findings of each of these sections. I'm going to start with meeting the need. Overall, this section was rated as meets the standard, with 2 of the 3 subsections rated as meets the standard. The applicant proposes a hybrid alternative school model, which focuses on learning and subject matter concentration, self-paced individualized learning, service learning, and experimental learning, small school size focus on relationships, and high academic expectation for high school students who are at risk of dropping out or are credit deficient. The mission of the school is to provide an exemplary hybrid learning model that transforms the lives of high school students. Pathways intends to create supportive, equitable educational environments where every student's unique potential is recognized and nurtured regardless of background or academic history. The mission and vision subsection was rated as meets the standard. Pathways aims to prepare students for lifelong post-secondary success by providing a flexible, personalized education that supports all backgrounds and circumstances. The proposed alternative high school focuses on increasing graduation rates among at-risk and underserved youth through individualized learning plans, comprehensive support services, and a clear goal of ensuring 85% of students graduate ready for further education, training, or employment. The targeted plan subsection was rated as meets the standard. The applicant highlights the urgent need for alternative education options in North Las Vegas, where low college attainment rates and underperforming schools limit student opportunities. To address this, the proposed school offers a flexible hybrid learning model that expands access to high quality education and aligns with the SPCSA's priority areas by providing multiple pathways to graduation and post-secondary readiness for students underserved by traditional settings. The parent and community involvement subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant demonstrated strength by gathering survey data, community feedback, and memorandums of understanding for potential partnerships, showing initial efforts to engage stakeholders. However, the committee forum could not provide clear examples of how community input shaped this proposal, nor how the proposed partnerships would advance the school's goals. Additionally, the applicant lacked detailed strategies for ensuring meaningful parent and community engagement, particularly for families of students with disabilities and English language learners. Moving to the academic section, this section was rated as approaches the standard. 1 out of the 11 subsections within the academic plan were rated as meets the standard. 2 of the subsections were rated as does not meet the standard, and the rest of the subsections were rated as approaches the standard. The transformational change subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant proposes an academic program aligned with SPCSA's strategic goals and designed to serve at-risk students through a flexible learning environment. However, the application lacks a theory of change and compelling evidence that past successes from other pathway schools can be replicated into the targeted Clark County zip codes. For example, when asked about comparative data during the capacity interview, the committee to form was unable to connect the previously provided data to support compelling evidence for success for the proposed targeted zip codes in Clark County. The curriculum and instructional design subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The committee to form identifies proposed curricula for all core academic subjects aligned to the Nevada Academic Content Standards by listing specific materials in the application. However, the review team found significant weaknesses in some of the proposed curriculum, particularly the use of an outdated 2006 social studies textbook that does not align with the 2017 Nevada Academic Content Standards, which the committee to form was unaware of. Concerns were also raised about the lack of a clear plan for delivering required courses such as arts, technology, health, and physical education. Furthermore, while the applicant referenced supports for students with disabilities and English learners, the strategies lacked clarity and feasibility given the limited staffing and minimal training described, leaving doubts about their ability to ensure the success for these student groups. The promotion and graduation requirements section was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant explained that the promotion will be based on credit accrual and mastery of standards with retention decisions informed by multiple measures. However, the committee to form did not clearly define a retention policy or provide a comprehensive plan for preventing student dropouts. The driving for results subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The review team was concerned that the applicant did not provide sufficient detail on how the success of special populations would be measured or supported when reviewing baseline data. While academic goals and subgroup trends were mentioned, the explanations of monitoring, goal setting, and corrective actions remained broad and unclear, raising concern given the school's unique model. The at-risk students and special population subsection was rated as approaches the standard. As previously mentioned, the review team had significant concerns regarding how the committee to form would remediate academically underperforming students and meet the needs of students with disabilities and English language learners. The committee to form did not clearly explain how the school would deliver required services or specific instructional strategies for English language learners and students in special education beyond basic one-on-one check-ins. While the two members have relevant experience, the responses about their track record of success were broad and lacked concrete data or evidence. The professional development subsection was rated as meets the standard. The applicant outlined professional development opportunities during the incubation year, including a range of topics tied to the academic program offered by Pathways in Education, and identifying the intended audience for each session. While this demonstrated planning and an understanding of the importance of professional learning, the narrative did not clearly articulate how these trainings would specifically help teachers address the needs of the English language learners and students with disabilities, leaving uncertainty about their effectiveness in supporting special populations. The school culture and discipline subsections were rated as approaches the standard. The proposed school model presents a vision for fostering a positive school culture rooted in its mission and core values, with staff expected to integrate these values into daily actions. While the applicant described having culture goals and training, there is no detailed plan for sustaining culture beyond the start of the year or for addressing the needs of students and staff who join mid-year, and the culture goals themselves do remain vague. Similarly, the proposed business-like dress code lacks specificity, raising concerns about whether it could pose barriers for students. On discipline, the application outlines due process aligned with Nevada law and includes procedures to monitor subgroup impacts, but details on proactive restorative practices were limited. The review team was also concerned about unclear responsibilities for maintaining student records and discipline data, particularly given the lean staffing model and the absence of measurable goals for student behavior and the accountability within the leadership team. The school calendar and schedule subsection was rated as does not meet the standard. The applicant outlined expected on-campus hours for students, including one-on-one meetings and instructional support, but did not clearly demonstrate how the model complies with statutory requirements for instructional hours. The committee to reform's response in the capacity interview left concerns that the unique scheduling model does not clearly define instructional time or align non-electronic lesson materials to these requirements. Furthermore, the proposed calendar and schedule lack clarity on how they will effectively support the academic program and ensure alignment between teachers and students. The dual credit partnership section was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant presented a planned agreement with the College of Southern Nevada. My light went off. With the College of Southern Nevada to provide dual credit opportunities for students. However, the review team noted a lack of clear details on implementation, monitoring, and student support, raising concerns about the feasibility and success of the partnership. The programs of distance education subsection was rated as does not meet the standard. The proposed school model relies heavily on distance learning, and while the applicant noted discussions with the Nevada Department of Education, the committee to form did not demonstrate a clear understanding of the approval process or timeline during the capacity interview. The review team questioned whether the non-electronic course materials would adequately meet requirements for tracking instructional minutes. Concerns also remained about the lack of a detailed plan to ensure sufficient pupil-teacher interaction, alignment with statutory instructional requirements, and proper administration of mandated assessments. Moving to the operations section, this section was overall rated as approaches the standard. 0 of the 8 subsections were rated as meets the standard. 2 sections were rated as does not meet the standard, and the rest were rated as approach the standard. I'll briefly summarize the key reasons for those ratings. The board governance subsection was rated as does not meet the standard. The review team found that the proposed committee to form members who intend to transition into governing board roles were not fully prepared to explain how they would oversee the school's academic, financial, and organizational performance. Their limited understanding of charter school governance, combined with unclear plans for maintaining a representative and skilled board amid anticipated turnover, raised significant concerns. While the members demonstrated passion for the school model, they did not show a strong grasp of the educational model, mission, or effective implementation, and their limited participation in the performance task reflected a surface level understanding of key regulations, such as the alternative performance framework. Furthermore, although a rubric was proposed for annual CMO evaluation, the review team still had questions and concerns if the board had the capacity to apply it effectively. The leadership team subsection was rated as does not meet the standard. The applicant plans to hire a school leader by fall 2025, with the CMO leading recruitment, and identified a senior director of district relations at a 0.2 FTE as part of the leadership team, which raised concerns. The review team found the purpose of this role unclear, particularly since it is not employed by either the school or the CMO, leaving uncertainty about the oversight and accountability despite the school funding part of the salary. Additionally, the absence of an assistant principal on the leadership team raised questions about administrative capacity, given the unique challenges of the proposed school. While the committee to form argued that the funds would be better allocated to student-facing staff due to smaller student population and staggered attendance, the review team remained concerned that the model may still require additional leadership support. The staffing plan and human resources subsection plans were rated as approaches the standard. The applicant intends to model the staffing plan after other schools in the CMO's portfolio, emphasizing similarities in the mission and academic programming. However, the proposed student-to-teacher ratios of 28:1 and 38:1 over 6 years raised concerns about whether the school could adequately serve all students, particularly those in special education and English language learners. The review team questioned the school's ability to balance instructional quality, student and family support, effective operations, and compliance with policies under these ratios. Recruitment and retention strategies were presented vaguely, relying largely on the school's mission and flexible scheduling rather than clear, actionable plans. Additionally, proposed salaries are well below competitive market rates, leaving doubts about the school's capacity to hire and keep qualified teachers, leaders, and staff reflective of the student body. Combined with unclear performance management and leadership development systems, as well as the state's ongoing teacher shortage, these weaknesses raise serious concerns about long-term staffing sustainability. The student recruitment and enrollment subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant presented a family engagement plan and enrollment projections for based on historical data, needs assessments, and outreach, but it is unclear if these efforts demonstrate a strong understanding of the community or will ensure a representative student population. The projections also raise concern, particularly the unexplained doubling of enrollment in 11th and 12th grade. While sign-in sheets show family interest, the lack of detail on student grade levels leaves the review team uncertain about the feasibility of meeting year one enrollment targets. The incubation year development subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The application includes an incubation plan with assigned responsibilities, milestones, and timelines for the principal, governing board, CMO, and director of district relations. However, it is unclear if these milestones are sufficient to ensure completion of all tasks required by the SPCSA pre-opening checklist. During the capacity interview and performance task, the committee to form showed limited understanding of the challenges of opening a new school, especially the recruitment of 225 students in year one. The lack of active participation, shallow discussion, and limited familiarity with enrollment metrics raised significant concerns about the committee's readiness and ability to successfully launch the school. The services and facility subsections were rated as approaches the standard. The applicant describes compliance with FERPA and the establishment of necessary technology infrastructure, but does not provide a timeline for implementation. The review team was also concerned about student access to the school site since no transportation will be offered, a significant issue given the needs of the target population. In addition, the application does not present clear metrics or a process to evaluate the effectiveness of student services. While the CMO is expected to assist in securing a facility with general space requirements identified, the narrative lacked specificity on timelines and preparation steps. The absence of a detailed plan for ensuring compliance with codes, laws, and municipal requirements leaves uncertainty about the school's readiness to open. The financial plan section is next. This section was rated overall as approaches the standard. The applicant's financial plan demonstrates several strengths, including a contingency plan that prioritizes mission-critical expenses and protects the school in case of lower than expected revenues. Year one cash flow projections show a positive monthly balance, and the debt to asset ratio remains acceptable within the limits from years 0 through 6. The plan also identifies a $1.5 million bridge loan from the CMO at a 3.44 interest rate as the sole funding source for the incubation year, which was supported by a formal commitment letter. Despite these strengths, the review team identified significant concerns that weaken the overall plan. The application lacks evidence of the CMO's financial expertise, sufficient internal controls, and appropriate segregations of duties, raising questions about financial oversight. Furthermore, the relatively high CMO fee of 10% in year one and 15% thereafter lacks clarity on included services, and its justification is particularly troubling when paired with the proposed staff salaries that are already well below market rates. Finally, the addendum section was rated as approaches the standard. 0 of the 4 subsections were rated as meet the standard, and all subsections were rated as approaches the standard. The past performance subsection rated as approaches the standard. The academic performance of CMO affiliated schools does not align with 4 or 5-star NSPF ratings, reflecting the alternative nature of their models. To address this, the committee to form highlighted growth trends and improved graduation rates during the capacity interview. However, financial and organizational performance data for these schools generally fall within the approaches standard range, raising concerns about overall performance. The scale strategy subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant noted that the CMO currently operates 11 schools in 4 states and intends to expand into Missouri and Nevada within 5 years. However, the application did not provide clear criteria for determining readiness for expansion or strong evidence of success in previous growth efforts. While the CMO is expected to assist with principal recruitment, there is no detailed plan for sourcing, training, or supporting school leaders to ensure effective campus level leadership. Additionally, the rationale for choosing Nevada, particularly Clark County, is underdeveloped, relying on general statements about low graduation rates and flexible authorizers rather than a data-informed alignment with the CMO's mission and capacity, which left concerned about its ability to scale sustainably while maintaining quality. The network capacity subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant provides organizational charts and descriptions of the CMO and school level roles, but the reporting structure and lines of authority remain unclear, raising questions about accountability. Although the CMO presented a seemingly strong leadership team, the application does not show how oversight will function effectively across the network. It also lacked evidence that the CMO has the infrastructure and staffing capacity to support both current operations and planned growth. The school management contract subsection was rated as approaches the standard. The applicant clearly explains the rationale for selecting the CMO and outlined the respective roles and responsibilities of both parties. However, the proposed management contract raises concerns, particularly with an automatic 5-year renewal clause that may conflict with state regulations and reduce oversight flexibility. Since the school plans to adopt the CMO's full educational program and additional services, questions do remain about the school's ability to operate independently and sustain itself without the CMO if that were to occur. Furthermore, the proposed management fee of 10% in year one and 15% in subsequent years is relatively high and lacks sufficient justification tied to the scope of the services. To summarize and underscore the reasons I have outlined today, staff is recommending that the authority deny the Pathways in Education Las Vegas charter application. Should the board wish to deny this application, a proposed motion can be found on page 4 of the memo. I'm happy to take any questions that the authority may have.
Thank you, Mr. Peltier. This is Vice Chair Haddad Bennett. Chair Thigpen had to step out for a moment. We have a representative from the school. Okay, we've got 3 minutes for you. Whenever you're ready, please just be sure to state your name for the record. And hit the button so the light turns green as well.
Good afternoon, Charter Authority staff and board members. My name is Lisa Schwartz, and I'm here representing the Pathways in Education Las Vegas Committee to Form, along with committee members joining virtually. We are here because Las Vegas's opportunity youth need us. The Aspen Institute reports that only 1% of disconnected youth will earn an associate's degree compared to 36% of the general population. Based on graduation rates in Clark County of 81.5%, 51,000 students faced barriers to graduating last year, with approximately 500 of these students from North Las Vegas. These are not just statistics. They are your neighbors' children, our community's future, and they deserve better. Pathways in Education schools have re-engaged thousands of off-track youth nationwide, with some being the first in their families to graduate high school, many being the first in their families to attend college. Last year, 92% of seniors graduated across Pathways' 4-state network with a 95% retention rate. We want to bring that same success to Nevada. After 7 years working in Pathway schools, I've witnessed transformation firsthand. Students tell me, before Pathways, I never had an adult who believed in me. No one told me college was an option for a kid like me. Who are we serving? Students working full-time to support their families? Students who've been bullied or struggle in large traditional schools? Students living in temporary housing? Students caring for siblings or their own children? Students who feel too far behind to catch up. These young people aren't failing, the system is failing them. They need a school designed specifically for their circumstances with flexible scheduling, personalized support, and educators who see their potential. When you walk into Pathways Las Vegas, you'll see students engaged in meaningful conversations with a teacher who knows their name, knows their story, and their dreams. You'll see one-on-one academic support and college planning sessions. You'll see hope being restored. We acknowledge there are areas in our application that need strengthening, and we're fully committed to demonstrating how Pathways Las Vegas will serve students currently left behind, delivering positive academic outcomes in a fiscally responsive way. These students deserve a second chance. We're asking for yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today and for the work you've done in applying this. Sorry, Chair Thigpen, for the record. Thank you, Vice Chair, for filling in for me for a moment. We will now bring it back to the boardroom for questions for staff or the applicant. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Just similar to, I think, our last item, appreciate all of the work that has gone into putting this application together up to this point. I think, working closely with staff to, understand sort of where some of those deficiencies are, really opportunities are to fill in the gaps, and hopefully come back in the future with more information for us, I think is very much appreciated, but want to thank all the work that you've done up to this point. We know it's not easy.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair Thigpen, for the record, board colleagues, looks like the website's back up. It was down during Danny's presentation. Things seem to be working again, but just in case, Director McAdin and Dr. Broughton did email you all the items for this agenda, including the recommended motion. So let's, any other questions or anything in the boardroom? Okay. We will go to our colleagues online and in Reno if you have any questions or comments. Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Vice Chair Haddad Bennett, I'll make a motion to deny the Pathways in Education Las Vegas application as submitted during the 2025 application cycle based on a finding that the applicant has failed to satisfy the requirements contained in NRS 388A.2493 and that the applicant has failed to demonstrate competence in accordance with the criteria for approval prescribed by the SPCSA that will likely result in successful opening and operation of the charter school, and to designate Director McAdin to meet with and confer with the applicant.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
Member Holmes-Sutton, second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, with that, we will close out agenda item 7D and we will take our lunch break now. We're moving pretty quicker than I thought, so do we want to take maybe half an hour or don't be mad at me? 30 minutes? Okay, we'll adjourn for 30 minutes, so we'll come back at 12:41. I'm a little frazzled, so I always need someone to check me. Okay, 12:41, we will temporarily adjourn and come back. Thank you.